Okay, hey, hello everyone. So thank you all for being here. Do you wanna say hello for the Houston user group?
Sure, yeah. Hi, thank you all for joining us, everybody. Really appreciate it. Really excited you're here in person. Thank you, everybody online. Glad you're here with us too. This is going to be a very interactive, very dynamic session. For everybody who hasn't really met me, my name is Jim Bethencourt. I lead the Houston Java Users Group, and I've been leading it, 2008, I guess. I met Bruno at Java 1, 2008, and I said,
What?
who is this guy walking around with the Brazilian flag on his back? He must be crazy. So,
I could have brought the Brazilian flag.
You should, yeah.
It's in the car. If we have a break, I'll bring it.
Okay, sure.
So then you don't sound like a crazy guy saying that.
Right, exactly. So yeah. But yeah, so I'm a consultant here at Improving, and it's absolutely fantastic working here. We're currently hiring Java developers and .NET developers and Agile coaches. So if you want to work at one of the best places in Houston, please feel free to reach out. You can contact me through Eventbrite or jim.bethencourt@improving.com. Please feel free to send over your resume. And you can also check out the HJUG website. Right now it just points to Eventbrite, a list of listings, but hjug.org. So yeah, that's about it. That's all I got. Bruno, take it away.
Okay, good. Thanks a lot, Jim. So I'd like to thank Improv that's been hosting me here for several years, right? So some of you guys already have been here before, and that's one of the places we came with an RV in the past, right?
Yes.
Part of the RV right outside, and we traveled for 12 cities in an RV, and Houston was the first one. Right, so thanks very much for being here. Jim has been very, very nice all the time. I'm actually coming to the US for the Dev Nexus event in Atlanta. So thanks, guys, from Dev Nexus for bringing me here, and I kind of extended the trip a little bit to be here with you guys. So as Jim said, it's going to be a very, very interactive session, right? The idea here is to have as much as a discussion as possible. What we're going to talk about here, discuss here today is looks like a very hot topic, right? So you are here. So thanks everyone for being here. For this. Sorry a little bit about the delay. The flight that I was able to got me here in Houston 3 p.m. So it was pretty much the time to come to the airport here, right? So thanks a lot. And it looks like it has less traffic than usual. So we're really cutting close, I think, right?
So for folks online, I will be monitoring the chat, and I will relay any questions you have to Bruno. So feel free to type those in, or if you have any comments, again, feel free to type those in. And if you're just joining us, we're using a 360 camera, so it'll track Bruno wherever he walks in the room. So it's pretty handy, pretty neat. Cool. But it looks a little bit funny at first, but you'll get used to it pretty quickly here.
Right. Okay. So. Yeah, so Scott is putting their names and questions. So those are the questions we got from people online, right? So before that I sent email to and got here. So we're gonna use some of those questions. We're gonna talk about your questions here too, right? So my name is Bruno Souza, and as Jim said, I'm from Brazil, but I've been on the Java community for a long time. And you can reach me. I'm very, very available everywhere. So you can reach me as BR Javaman anywhere, right? So on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm BR Javaman everywhere. So guys, let me ask you some questions here, right? So let me first of all, who here is a developer? Who works as a developer? Okay, everyone. Okay, good. All right. So who here is a Java developer? All right. Okay, some. All right. So what are the main technologies that you work with? Like, let's say Python. Okay. So Perl. I have a good friend of mine that's a Perl developer here, right? So what else? JavaScript. Okay, good. Go. All right. Kotlin. All right. Good. Did I?
PHP. C#.
.NET.
Yeah, PHP. Okay. .NET. Yes, C#.NET. Okay, good. Awesome. Okay. Who else? What else should I ask?
Rust.
Hmm?
Rust.
Rust. Any Rust developer here? No? All right, good.
Node.js, C. C++.
C++. Yeah, okay, cool.
SQL.
SQL, yes. That's
I hope
a good one.
everybody was there.
All right. Well, yeah, in terms of main technology, right? Okay, so now, so who here is, in terms of experience, right? So who here has, maybe, I don't think there's anyone, but I had to ask anyway. So anyone study yet, like in a university or, seriously? Yeah, just as a developer, right? You can start.
Computer science degree, MIS degree.
No, I mean, you're studying right now.
Oh, you're studying right now, okay.
Right, oh, yeah, no, so yeah, anyone that's like, is studying still, not a professional yet? No, right, okay, so everyone's a professional here, so who here has, less than 5 years of career? Less than 5 year career? You take that, okay, good, all right, 5 years, 5 years. Okay, so let me be more specific, who has less than 3 years of career? Okay, you have less than 3 years of career, less than 5, right? Less than 5. Who here has between 5 and 10 years of career? Okay, good. All right, more than 10 years? All right, good. Okay, so that's good numbers. I'm sorry for the people watching online. Maybe you didn't see the red hands going up and down, but just to have an idea. So the discussion we're going to have here today is what we've been calling, I've been calling post-senior, right? There is an official name, but the official name exists for about 2 years, so a lot of people don't know it yet, right?
Geriatric? Geriatric?
Geriatric? No. That's a good one. No, so people have been calling it the staff plus, right? So I've been calling it post-senior because there's a slightly difference between the staff plus and the post-senior that I want to discuss here. But a lot of people they get to senior positions, right? So when do you get to senior positions? It varies from company to company, right? So let me ask you this question here. So who here is considered in your company a senior developer, or at least a senior developer? All right. Okay, good. Okay, so you can see that those guys in the back, I'll raise their hands.
Is this?
All right, okay. So the guys in the back, they all raise their hand at the same time when I ask it how many years you have a career. But when I ask it who's considered a senior, the hands came up different, right? And that's normal, because different companies will consider you a senior developer in different stages, right? And so a lot of it depends on your negotiation, right? A lot of it depends on how confident you are in certain things. A lot of it depends on the situation of the company itself, right? But it is pretty normal that you end up getting a senior position somewhere between 5 and 10 years in your career, right? You should be between that number. You should be considered a senior developer, right? And then what happens? What's next, right? What do you do after a senior developer, right? So that is the question, and that's why the discussion here today is beyond senior, because there's basically 2 main paths that people want to do, right? One is to become a manager, right? A lot of times people just want to, a lot of companies will kind of push you to be a manager, right? Once you're a senior developer, they start talking about maybe what you want to do next, right? You're going to manage people, right? We have this position for you to be a manager, a people manager, right? And so then a lot of times when you get to that situation, we can talk about this. That's one of the things we can talk about here today, is what happens when you become a manager, right? And a lot of times when you become a manager, you end up being much more like a people's person, right? And you end up, being a lot more worried about what people are doing than being a technical guy, right? And then a lot of times people also tell me, or, the discussion generally is, I don't want to be a manager. I want to stay a technical person. And so what is the path for me to stay technical? Okay, so that is the path of the staff plus, right? what's the staff plus? Staff plus is, staff engineer, principal engineer, distinguished engineer, so those are the names that people are calling them staff plus, right? Because it's staff plus because it encompasses all those titles, right? So it is the path for you to keep growing inside your company. It's a lot of companies, those are parallel paths, right? If you go to management, you have like 3 or 4 whatever roles, and then if you go technical, you're gonna have 3 or 4 technical roles. They're similar, but the staff plus engineers, they usually are not people managers, right? So they're not gonna be manage people. I'm gonna talk about some examples here that we can talk about. Okay, now there are other paths, right? That we can talk about here too, right? So a lot of people want to, when they get to that position, they start thinking about building their own company, right? So you can do, you can join a startup, for example. You can build, you can have your own idea or your own project, and then you can start doing your own company, right? And so and there's a lot of people that will go into training, right? That they will train people, so they might work on training companies, for example, or they might decide to build their own training process, for example, right? So I mean, there are, between building products, training, building your own company, joining a startup, being a manager, being a staff plus, right? There's a lot of paths that you can take once you become senior, right? And then so we're open here to discuss all of those things, right? That's the idea. Anything that you want to discuss in this realm, in this idea of what do I do once I become senior, we're open to discuss, right? And so I'm going to talk about a few things here, and then there's lots of questions that we could talk about, and we're going to talk about I want to hear your questions, your situations, and we want to make this very, very direct in the terms that anything that you guys have, doubts, questions, issues, right, problems that you're facing right now, we can talk about, right, and see how that goes. Okay, so let me talk. So let me talk a little bit about, from all those things that I mentioned here. Who here has heard of the idea of the staff plus? Have heard that term, staff plus? Okay, no one has heard that. So that's a pretty new term, right? And it's, so if you haven't heard, that's not a problem, right? The very first initiative that I've seen public, beside the book, there's a book that coined that term. The book's called Staff Inc., right? And there's a website too. If you want to open the website, you can do that. Staffinc.com. Scott has a few tabs there. No, Staff Inc. ENG. It's like staff engineer, yes, .com. Yes, staff engineer, right. Okay, so the guys that wrote that book, so that's the site in the book. If you scroll down, there's a book over there. Oh, other than this book. Yes, okay, yes. So the website and the book, Staff Engineer, right, is a book that coined that term, Staff Plus. Okay, so the very first public discussion that I've seen about this happened this week, right? Because in London, QCon London has this week, it's going on this week. I tried to get the heads of that track to come here, but she's in London and she's partying right now because the event just ended, right? So Fabiani Nardon is running the Staff Plus track on QCon London this week, right? So so it's a pretty new term. Don't worry if you haven't heard it. Who here knows that their companies have a like a staff position after senior level? Okay, just a few people, right? Yeah. So that's also new for the companies. Okay, so the bigger chance is that if you try to tell your company, hey, I'm a senior developer already, right? I'm a senior engineer already, so I want to be a staff plus engineer. Your company's gonna say, what?
They give you a dumb look.
Yeah, they're gonna say, we don't know what you're talking about, right? We don't have that position, and it's normal that company's gonna keep pushing you to a management position because they don't know what to do with you, right?
I'm a specialist.
Yeah, so again, so it's a specialist. Some people call, we're gonna talk about some of the basic archetypes, but some people call like a tech lead, for example, right? Or an architect, right? So those are some of the archetypes of the Staff Plus. Okay? So I understand that this might be a big discussion here because a lot of technical people want you to move in that direction. Okay? But now let me ask you what, now that we talk about this term, right? Let me ask you a few things here. So who here, when you right now, or when you get to a senior position, who here was thinking about after senior, I want to become a manager? Who wants to go to the management path? Okay, there's a couple of people. All right, you want to go in the management path? I think it's a very good path, right? It's a very reasonable, very good path, and it's a more common, right? Inside companies, will they know what to do, right? Because the management path, they apply for lots of different areas in the company, right? So the management path is very reasonable, very good. Lots of companies it's actually pay more, right? Than being a technical, right? And so, who here knows that you don't want to be a manager, you want to continue being a technical person? Okay, all right. Now, who here doesn't know? Who here never thought about it, or I'm in doubt right now, I don't know if to do management or technical? Okay, good. So yes, that's a very good question. We might start with that question, right? So I have a good thing for you to think about, right? So should I close the door here?
If you want to.
Yeah.
And feel free to go get more pizza.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's bothering you guys, but the sound is coming from, it's kind of bothering. It's right behind. No, that's good. Yeah, it's just because the sound is right behind you. So, yeah, all right. Okay, so yeah, and by the way, Jim is right. So, there's more pizza. You guys can come in and out and get food. Don't worry, right? Okay, so one more question here. Who here knows that what you want to do is, is go being an entrepreneur, right? You want to build your own company. You're going to launch a startup. You want to go into that area, right? So you want to be an entrepreneur.
Any entrepreneurs online?
All right, no.
All right, we got one at least.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah, you can tell me what people are voting online.
Yep.
All right, yeah. So people online, if you want to, you can go ahead. If you can also vote, you say, raise your hand or say me or whatever. And then Jim's gonna.
Yep, I'll relay those. Okay, guys. Okay, everybody.
All right. Okay, so probably not going to be talking too much about entrepreneurial path, right? But if you guys are curious about it, that's not a problem. We can talk about this.
There are a lot of steps to go through if you do want to pursue entrepreneurship, but it is definitely a worthy endeavor.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? Now there is one thing that is kind of entrepreneurial, but people don't consider too much entrepreneurial. That is for you to become a consultant or a freelancer. So who here would like to be independent, right? So you'd be a consultant or a freelancer and be independent. Okay, Scott. Okay, all right, good. Yeah, so I personally think that being a consultant, being independent, being a freelancer, it is a way of building your own company, right? You have a product that's yourself, right? And I do think that, the more you advance your technical career, and if you want to continue to be in a technical, being a consultant, a freelance independent developer, it's a very good way to do that because then you can specialize in something very deep, right? Let's just kind of get an example. Let's say, you become like a performance specialist or a security specialist, right? There's not a lot of companies that have so many performance issues, right? Or so many security issues. They're going to hire you to just do that inside the company, right? But, if you can get 10, 15 companies that, they all have problems, right? And so you can be a specialist on something very specific and then help several companies to succeed or to solve their problem. So I think that being a freelancer or a consultant or whatever you want to call, it's a good way for you to build a product that does something like that. Okay. All right. So Okay, so in terms of Staff Plus then, right? Because I think, oh, okay, actually, there's some people in doubt. Go ahead.
So we did have one phone line, Brian. He said that he's a staff engineer at Nikola Motor. He also has 2 startups.
Cool.
One's for COVID screening software, and the other's a physical product. So he's doing it all.
All right,
Very
yes.
impressive.
And that's so who said that?
Brian.
Brian. So Brian, thanks a lot for saying that, Brian. It's a very, very good point. I think that, the more you are able to, to participate on discussion with many companies, many people, even many groups inside inside your company, more you're going to be able to do exactly what Brian's doing, right? Because you're going to be able to participate in different companies. You're going to be able to participate in different things, right?
There's folks like me who decided to create an open source product.
Oh,
open source, the open source tool that I've just created out of love, I guess, in a way, and it's starting to catch a little bit of attention.
So open source is a good discussion. It's a very, very good topic for us to discuss here about is open source, right? Now, there's one thing I want to say. We're talking here about ways that you can be a professional, right? And so that you can leave off that, right? So it's very easy if you want to be a technical forever. It's very easy that you get a job that pays lots of money, and then on the side you continue to be a technical guy, right? So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about more about something that's going to pay you. Open source is a great way, but in a way, open source is building your own product. If you want to start your own product, it's a way. If you want to be entrepreneurial of that, right? That is a good thing for you to do. Is actually use your open source project as a way for you to make money.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So that would be like more the entrepreneurial path, right? Yeah. Unless you're an open source developer that gets hired by a company to do that, and then that's more like a Staff Plus position.
Yes. Okay. You're the specialist.
Right. Okay. So with all of that, I just want to start with this one point. There's several people here that are in doubt about, do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be a technical person, right? So here's the question. You don't need to answer that, but just a question for you to think about. Okay? A manager is worried about people, right? And a developer or a technical person is more worried about the code, about the technology, right? So that's clear. Okay? Go ahead.
So one thought crossed my mind. How many folks in here are using an agile methodology on your team? So
Cool.
So that's good, and so it's certainly being adopted more and more. But the funny thing is that in agile, the goal is to have a self-managing team. So then where does that necessarily leave a manager?
Well, okay, right. So I mean, manager is too important anyway, right? Even though if the team itself, it's self-management, self-managed, but the manager is still responsible. For example, who is going to discuss your vacations?
Yeah.
Right. Who is going to give you a raise? Who is going to is going to do is going to discuss your benefits, right?
Right.
You still need a manager to do all those things, right?
Yeah.
And especially, I think the trick is who is going to give you a raise. I think that's because who the person that gives you a raise is your boss, right?
Yeah.
And so I mean there's a very, very crazy. I don't remember the name of the project right now, but I know the guy is doing this. There's this very crazy project that for you to do for you to actually divide the money among the team.
Ricardo, similar? You tell me how much you want to make and
No. It's a guy that's doing an open source project.
Okay.
So there's a method that you can do for the team to decide who gets the raise, right? So there are some very crazy situations in the market, right? But we're not going to go all into those because they're very, very specific, right? But anyway, so yes. So here's a question for you to think about, especially people that are in doubt, right? Let's say one day you get to work, right? And the code that you wrote, right? The code that you're responsible for, that's in production, right? It's failing and production is offline, right? And you have to fix it. And then when you go fix it, you find out there's a guy in your team, right? that has whatever problem. I'm not going to mention problems here because, you know, I would not have played around with people. There's someone in your team that has a very, very big problem, right? Something bad happened in his life or with him or whatever, right? And so what do? Do you fix the code or do you go help the person? Right? You know, that's a good question. And there's no right or wrong answer, right? You know, but the way you answer that is going to give you an idea of what you think is, it's not in terms of important, but what do you want to do, really, right? You know, I've heard many things. Oh, the guy says, no, if I go talk to the person and I fix the person, then someone else can go fix the code. And I heard the other way around, right? If I go and fix the code very fast, then I can go and help the person, right? You know, but both solutions are reasonable. But the reality is, if you believe that having the team better, right? Because if you go fix the person and everyone sees that you're focused on the person and the team gets better, then everything's going to be better. Then you're probably, you know, you're more like a managerial type, right? But if you think that, no, if I go and fix the code, because then when we fix the code, then the team can better, and maybe HR can talk with the guy, right? Then you're more like a technical guy, right? So just something for you to think about. There's no right answer, and then it's more like how you feel about this, okay? And you know, everyone tries to fix both, of course, right? No, if I do that and then that. So once you decide which one it is, right? Let me tell you a very simple thing for you to stop worrying, right? Because people want to do both things because they say, I want to be a manager, but I want to still code, right? Or they say, I want to be a technical coder, but I also want to grow inside my company, so I also want to manage, right? So people want to do both things. So here is the trick for you to do both things. Get out of the critical path. Very simple, right? For example, do you want to be a manager and still code? So go code interesting things, like, you know, go code prototypes or proof of concept, or go code tools for your team, right? All of those things are things that if they break and you have something else to do for the team, it's no problem that you leave that thing broken, right? So just don't have code that you're responsible for on production. That's it. That's it. Very simple, right? And you know, as when you do a tool, for example, for the team, and eventually the tool becomes so important, everyone is using it, and then if the tool stops, it's a problem for the whole team. Maybe wants to get someone to continue developing the tool or be responsible for the tool. Get out of the critical path. Same way for the other way around, right? If you want to be a technical person and you also wanted to do management, go manage other things, right? Go manage, for example, the user group meeting, right? Like Jim does, for example. Go manage the user group meeting. Go manage the Christmas party for the company, right? Go manage whatever. Go manage something else inside the company. That yeah, he does that. Okay, good. Yeah, so go manage something else, right? Because if something happens with the code, you can always, you know, if there was a big problem in production code that Dean was working on today, he would just say, Bruno, sorry, man, I can't be there, right? You know, get someone else. Scott's going to be there, or someone else, you know, someone else going to be there. Bruno, just here's the key to the room. Just go there and give a talk, right? You know, there are other ways to fix if you're focused on the code. Make sense?
But doesn't that diminish your value to the company?
What diminish your value to the company?
You're no longer in the critical path.
Oh no, you're not in the critical path of the thing that you don't want. That's the point, right? No, you first choose which one do you want to be. You're going to be a manager, you're going to be a technical guy. You first choose that. And then the other one that you also want to do, right? Because everyone wants to do everything, right? That's the problem, right? You know, it would be very easy to say, no, I want to be a manager and I'm okay stopping coding. That's going to be easy because you just go be a manager. But everyone says, I want to be a manager, but I also want to code, right? You know, or I want to code, but I also want to manage. So if that's what you want to do, you choose which one you want, and actually, but that's an interesting question, right? Because his question is, if you've diminished your value for the company, right? But actually, if you're a great coder and you also run the user group, right? That actually increases your value for the company. Right? That's Jim's
You're able
case.
to attract talent.
You're able to attract talent, right? So yes, you can do the thing that's not critical. If you do it in a way that it connects with the goals of the company, you actually increase your value for the company, not decrease. Okay, right? But I agree with you, right? No, don't do the other way around, right? Don't want to be a coder and get out of the critical path of the coding. that's not okay. Make sense? All right. Okay. Good. So I think that was the first question here. Now that we had this little introduction here, right? I want to hear from you. What is your situation right now? What's going? Because look, we established already. Let me just kind of go forward here, right? We established already that we're not going to talk about entrepreneur here unless someone has a question, right? We're going to talk a little about management unless someone has a question, because very few people raise their hand, and lots of people want to continue to be technical, right? So we're gonna focus more on the managerial and being and the staff plus position, right? That's what we're gonna focus more. So
what about like team lead / sort of player coach kind of situation?
That's a good point. So let me quickly talk about the 4 archetypes that actually you're pretty good people there, right? So let me talk about the 4 archetypes that book, Staff Engineer, lists, right? So the guy interviewed lots of people, and he joined everyone in 4 archetypes of what a staff plus is, right? So what is an archetype? Archetype is it's like a mold, right? It's like a general vision, it's a general idea, right? So an archetype, so it's not a role, it's not a position, it's more like the things that that person does, right? So there are 4 archetypes that those guys got there. The first archetype, the one that Jim just said right now, there's the team lead, right? Or the tech lead. The tech lead, right? In a lot of companies, tech lead is a role, right? It's not a position. Some companies it is like an official position, but in most companies it is a role, right? So you, Jim, you are the tech lead of that project right now. And then the next project, Scott's going to be the tech lead and Jim's going to be the developer. So it's a role.
Tag, you're it. Tag, you're
it. Right. Yes. Okay. So that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the role. We're talking about someone that is a staff plus. That means he has a position of staff plus, right? And it takes more on the role of the tech lead. Okay. So that's archetype number 1. Archetype number 2 is the architect. Okay. Right, and the architect, I think that's less a role and more a position inside companies, right? Usually when you get to the level that you are architect, you don't become, you're architect for this project, you're not for the other project. So once you get to an architect inside companies, it's usually more like a position. It's not something that you dress, it's something that you are, right? And so the architects and other staff plus archetype here. And then number 3 is the solver, right? If I was going to choose one, I would be one of the last 2 here, right? In my case, right? So I'm a solver. That's what I work with. That's my main thing that I do. Is the guy that is there to solve the biggest problems, the hardest problems that exist in whatever project it is. Right? So it's the solver is the guy that ends up jumping from project to project and say, we have this big performance issue here. Who do you call? I'll call Bruno.
Is it a specialist?
It's a kind of specialist, but it's more like a problem solver, right?
Okay.
It could be very specific. Could be like a performance guy, right? That is being called to the biggest performance problem in the company, for example. It could be more like me, like more like a generic guy, right? So I'm more like a generalist, right? In this regard, it's for me, for example, my specialty is join a project that's things are going bad, right? The project's kind of catching fire. That's the problem to solve, right? So it's like fire after fire, right? So the project's catching fire, and I'm the guy that gets in and finds out what's going wrong, right? It could be a people problem, it could be a technical problem, it could be a performance problem, it could be whatever, right? And then we take steps to address and solve the problem, right? So that would be the solve, right? And the last one, right, is the right hand. So this is something that I have done quite a lot. So the right hand is the guy that is, how do I say this? Maybe the support guy for one of the big shots of the company, right? So so you are like the technical guy for the CTO, right? So every time the CTO there's a problem, the CTO needs to get involved. Not every time, sometimes the CTO needs to get involved in something, and you go there and you actually kind of represent the CTO, or it could be the guy that represents the CTO, for example, right? It could be someone that the CTO will consult with, right? Before he makes a decision, right? So whatever, it's the guy who's at the right hand, so he works close with the executives. Make sense? So those are the 4 archetypes that this book defines, or actually not defines, right? After interviewing several people, the author just got. Okay, make sense? So basically, the whole idea of Staff Plus is that once you get to senior level, right, and you keep growing technically, you keep growing inside your company, then at some point your company will, either because you negotiate with them, you convince them, or because they already have a pre-established process, right? So you're going to move into a different role. I want you to understand, it's different to be a Staff Plus than it is to be a developer, right? The senior developer is the guy that is responsible for the code, right? You're there implementing features, you're doing things. Then once you move to Staff Plus position, you start moving to a more strategic position inside the company, right? So it means that there's lots of things around it. You're going to be more involved with mentoring people. You're going to be more involved with making decisions, right? You're going to participate more on the big decisions of the company, right? So you're going to be less responsible for the code. And actually, that's an interesting thing, right? For Staff Plus positions, usually you reduce the amount of coding that you do, but you increase your influence, you increase your impact inside the company, right? Make sense? So then, usually the path here is, you're a senior, you're a senior developer, right? And then you grow to something that some companies call staff engineer, right? Staff engineer is the next level, and then you move into principal engineer, right? Principal engineer, and then you move into distinguished engineer. Okay, right? So this is the most normal for big companies that have all the roles, right? This is the most normal path. Some companies don't have all the roles, and they might have one of those, right? And so everyone that's post senior is called something here, right? That's the case of my consulting company, right? So everyone's called a principal engineer, right? And then if the company is very big, you might have different levels, right? You can have staff 1, staff 2, staff 3, and then you have principal 1, principal 2. You can have different levels, right? Big companies like Red Hat, Microsoft, and those Oracle, those companies are going to have a very close match between those roles here and the manager roles, right? So if you have 3 levels of staff engineer, you're going to have 3 levels of manager, for example, right? And then you have 3 levels of principal engineer, and there's going to be 3 levels of director, right? And then you're going to have 3 levels of distinguished engineer, and then the company's going to have 3 levels of VP, for example, right? So the distinguished engineer, that's what I want you to see this. The distinguished engineer is is equivalent, right, to a VP inside a company. Right? So, but the idea is that, so what's the difference between those roles here and the manager roles? Usually, those roles here do not have reports. You're not a people person, right? You can talk to lots of people, you can be involved in lots of different things, you can mentor lots of people, but none of them report to you, right? You don't have direct reports because you're not responsible for the people. Someone else is. Right? So those roles here, lots of times are going to be cross roles, right? They're going to be, you're going to be reporting to someone, but then there's no one reporting to you. And that's why you get to the level of VP, but you have no team, right? Or is it depending?
I'm just thinking it might be easier for folks online to see.
Right. Okay. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I should have thought about that. There you go.
All right. Let's see which one. Is it better? Yeah. A little better? Yeah. Okay,
Oh,
let's-
yeah.
let's see green. Okay. Yeah. Green?
Probably I'd say blue. Dark.
Not really?
Probably
Blue,
dark.
right? Blue's better. Blue's good. Okay, good. Thanks, thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, I should have thought of that earlier. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. But anyway,
Who do the senior, sorry, the staff and the principal?
staff, principal, and distinguished.
Who do they report to? Are they like under the CTO or something?
It depends, I think it depends on the company, right? Yeah, we're laying out a very broad description here, right? So, but yes, but usually, usually gonna report, so for example, at Sun, right? We had a guy that was called a VP, but he was a technical guy, right? And he was responsible for Sun Lab, right, for the whole research structure inside Sun, but he did not have any reports on it. So I mean, there's a whole structure at the Sun Labs that create lots of cool technologies, including Ground VM, right, that lots of people use today, right? But he had no reports, right? So so usually here in the companies, you're going to see what we call dotted lines, right? You're gonna actually be reporting dotted line to someone, right? Because you don't actually report to them. So for example, at Sun, I was reporting to this guy, he was a VP, but he had no reports, right? So my boss, my official boss was a guy that, that it was very funny. I had this, my official boss at Sun, he would call me and say, hey, Bruno, how are things going? He would call me like once every 6 months, right? It's like, yeah, I talked to him like 3 times, right? And so, maybe one in 4 or 5 months. But anyway, he'd call me and say, how things are going? Oh man, I'm, this and this and blah, blah. I was telling him lots of things and said, I don't understand any of the things you're talking about, right? But it's cool. It's cool that you like what you're doing, right? But the reason why I'm calling you is just to make sure that, do you have enough budget to do the things you're doing? And I would say, yeah, everything's fine. Do you need anything from me? No, everything is good. Okay, good. That's it. Right. So that was because he was not really my boss. Right. No, my boss was the VP that didn't have any reports to him. Make sense? So he had someone who would take care of the people, right? So he could do other things. Right. I had a conversation recently from another guy here. I had a conversation recently with Jill from Azul, right? And Jill was saying exactly this. I said, I build, he's one of the founders of the company, right? And he said, I build my company so no one reports to me, right? And so he says, I look at everything that's being done and I go and I talk to people, but I'm not the one responsible for doing the things because I build in a way that no one reports to me. So that's the same thing. So that's what I'm talking about. You have this role of a distinguished engineer in the case of Jill, right? It's even more because he's on the founder of the company, but he doesn't have any reports. Make sense? So this is cool, isn't it? That's a good thing that you can do. That you can grow technically, you can be more influential inside the company, you can be more impactful inside the company, but at the same time, you don't have to deal with anyone because no one reports you. So you don't have to worry about discussing vacations or discussing salaries or if someone gets sick, it's not with you that they talk with, right? But that does not mean that those people, all the people inside the team are not in a way your responsibility, because they are, right? You're going to be mentoring them. You're going to be having one-on-ones conversation with them. You're going to be discussing the architecture of the project. You're going to be, there's all kinds of things you're going to be doing. They're all people related, right? That's a big difference. Most of what you're going to do as a staff plus position is going to be people related, right? You're going to be influencing people. You're going to be, you're going to be influence decisions. You're going to be, it's a lot of people related, but you're not responsible. They don't report for you.
No, but
And I think it's an awesome thing. Someone trying to say something?
Yeah, Parag, is that you?
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, what happens at the year end during your year-end reviews?
But what happened to what?
Can you be a little bit more specific?
Because your reporting manager is somebody else while you're working with somebody else.
Oh,
It gets, then at the year end,
Oh, a year in.
yes.
oh, performance
How do
reviews.
you,
No,
Yeah,
no,
performance
yeah.
reviews, how are those handled?
Yeah, no, that's a lot of things got a lot more interesting, right? That's true. So I'm gonna get to performance reviews in a minute, because again, different companies are gonna do different ways. But one interesting thing I want to say just before talking performance reviews, that when you do this kind of things, what happens? You become what we call a leader, right? A leader is not a position, right? A leader is not like, oh, you're a leader, right? When someone tells you, when you get the position, you're a leader, and there's all those people here report to you, right? You become a boss. Boss, what's the difference between a leader and a boss? A boss have hierarchical power over people, right? So a boss, if I'm your boss, and I tell you, man, you have to fix that problem, you have to fix that problem, right? Because I'm your boss. Now, a leader does not have hierarchical power. A leader has influential power, right? So, for example, I'm a consultant, right? Jim is also a consultant. So when we get to a company, we don't have any power, right? We join a project, we have zero power. Those people that are in the project, they don't work for me. I can't tell them you have to do this, right? Actually, I work for them in a way because they are hiring me to be there in the company, right? So they don't work for me. Neither hierarchical, not even the same company, right? But they still listen to me. Why? Why do they do the things that I think they should do, right? Is because I'm a leader, right? So that's what you have to build. You have to build. That's one of the most important things you're going to have to build in terms of skills for you to get to the staff plus position is the leadership position. Right? You have to be a good leader because you have to help people do things even though you can't tell them to do things. Right? Make sense? So leadership skills, that's one big thing that we can talk about here today, is talk about leadership skills. I mean, we have enough time here to discuss a lot of those things in detail, right? I'm kind of giving a general overview here. But, and now, when you talk about leadership skills, right, a lot of them are people skills, right? You have to listen, you have to communicate well, you have, there's all kinds of things that you have to do, right? You have to have influence, you have to be visible, right? If you're not visible, well, I'm going to listen to you. I don't know who you are, right? So all those things. So for me, the biggest thing you have to be, if you get this takeaway, right? That's a big win for the day, right? If you want to move from senior developer into the staff plus position, staff engineer, principal engineer, distinguished engineer. If you want to move into that, the biggest thing you're going to have to work on is your leadership skills, right? You know, your technical skills, I know you have it because you are a developer, you're a senior developer, you have technical skills. I know you have that, right? But what's going to make a difference going forward is the other skills, right? Actually, I have one thing that I can add to my fame is that I opened for Iron Maiden twice in my life. Right? Isn't that cool? Right? I opened for Iron Maiden twice in my life. Not because I'm a musician, because I'm not, right? But I know Iron Maiden is one of my favorite bands, right? No, not because I'm a puppeteer, because that's what Scott's talking about, right? No, I'm a puppeteer, by the way, participated on TV shows, including several TV shows, by the way. So I am a puppeteer, but no, that's not why I'm open for Iron Maiden, but because I'm a speaker, right? So I did, and it's not really for Iron Maiden. So I did Bruce Dixon has been 3 times in Brazil to give talks about entrepreneurship, right? And on those three times, 2 of those, I was the guy that opened for him, right? So I was there, kind of getting the crowd together and all that, and introducing him on stage, right? So I opened for Iron Maiden twice, right? So, but why I'm saying this, because I'm not a musician, but Bruce Dixon is, right? And so he talks about the difference between a normal musician and the rock star musician, right? And he says that the difference between the normal musician and the rock star musician, it's not the music, right? Because for you to be a musician, you have to have the music. So the difference between the rock star musician and the normal musician is the rest, right? It's the other things, right? So that's what his whole talk's about, right? It's about how you can be an entrepreneur, right? And so he talks about how you can be an entrepreneur as a musician or other things in your life, right? So, and for me, it's the same thing here, right? Once you reach a strong technical position, what do I mean by that? Now, we're talking about you have 5 to 10 years of experience. That means you have a brain of a developer, right? It takes about 3 years for you to develop the brain of a developer, right? And so once you have that, you have the brain of developer. You can go deeper and deeper and deeper and be better and better and better. But then it's going to be some point here, it's going to be a rupture, right? Either you continue to be a senior developer forever, right? I mean, all your responsibilities should write code, and you just can be there, sitting there writing code, and that's all you do the whole day long, right? Or you take the next step to move to a new position, right? And that's not mandatory, by the way. You don't have to. It's a big difference between a senior developer and being a staff engineer, right? You don't have to do that step if you don't want to. If you want to, look, I'm very happy. I sit down here. People send me code problems and I fix them. And I don't want to mentor anyone. I don't want to discuss anything with anyone. I just want to do my development job. And when it gets to the end of the day, I go home and go be my. That's good. That's okay, right? But if you want to do that next step, right? There is a break here. It's a different position, right? It's not simply, I get more money and I do the same thing. No, it's a different position, right? And so once you do that step, for me, the most important skill that you're going to have to build to do that step is your leadership skills. Okay? Because then you have to be a leader. The staff plus positions are leadership positions. They're influential positions. They are, they have impact in the company because you're influencing the company. You're not going to have direct reports. You're not going to tell people what to do, but you're going to influence them. And the better leader you are, the more of people you're going to influence inside the company and outside the company too. Make sense? Is that good enough? As a general review, that reasonable, right? Okay, good. So what's his name?
Scott?
No, not Scott. The guy, I point to the camera here, the guy that asked the question.
Oh, there's Parag.
Parag. So Parag's question was, so how does it work, right? For reviews, for example, right? You know, now I report to one person and I work with other people, right? So how do I get reviewed? Interesting enough, depending on the company, right? The people that you are, you know, they're not your direct reports, right? But you're working with them, right? Those people, they might influence your review, right? If they don't like you, you know, they might get listened to, and you know, that's why you need to be a leader. You cannot be a boss, you have to be a leader, right? But in other situations, you know, that's another interesting thing, right? When you get to that level here, a lot of your increasing salaries, increasing positions, increasing everything is going to depend on your negotiation skills, right? So you're gonna move up here. A lot of it, look, the more you grow, the more freedom you have. The more freedom you have to do the things that you think are important. The more there's not going to be anyone on top of you telling you what to do, because you're going to be more and more responsible. I mean, who tells what for the vice president what to do, right? You know, those guys are the staff plus positions are more and more independent positions, right? You decide what you're going to work on. You're going to do the things that are important, right? So, and all of these, that means that you have to be a leader. Again, you have to be a leader, including a leader in your own career, right? What do I mean by that? You're going to have to negotiate. Negotiate with your boss, negotiate with your company, negotiate, you know, your increase, right? And then one of the questions we have is, I don't know what to do to get to those positions, right? Or the requirements are not clear. Yes, you're right. The requirements are not clear. Come on, most of you guys have never even heard of the term staff plus, right? How about your companies? Do you think your companies know what the term means, right? Some companies have that. I just wanted you to know that some companies have those positions, but most companies don't. So you're gonna have to be independent. You're gonna have to fight for yourself. You're gonna have to negotiate your way up, right? Because one interesting thing about those positions is that the evolution here, it's much less clear in terms of, you know, look, I know, guys, in the computer industry, we love to talk about the meritocracy, right? Oh, yes, open source is a meritocracy, right? Software development is a meritocracy. The better the guy gets, the more he grows. I wrote a whole huge article talking about this, right? I'll give you guys the link later. But because the meritocracy, it's a smoke screen, right? It is.
I heard it can be toxic.
Well, that's
Not that it is, but that it can't. It has the
Well,
potential to be.
yeah, I agree with you. That's a different discussion. I don't want to get that discussion being toxic, but yes, you know, it damages you, right? Because I see a lot of developers. They're great. They're amazing. I mean, those are the people I help in my mentoring. They're great developers. They're very good technical, right? And they feel terrible because they believe in the meritocracy and they think, why don't I grow? I must be terrible, right? You know, if I didn't grow, it must be that's my fault, right? Because there's a meritocracy, right? The people that get good, they grow up. And if I don't grow, it must be my fault. I must be bad, right? I must be incompetent. I must be a fake. I must be an imposter, right? And you know, the moment you understand that the meritocracy is very, very smoke screen, then you stop worrying about this. And then you go grow because you know you can grow, right? You know, serious guys, what do I mean by that? I'm going to tell a story about Bruno, another Bruno, not this Bruno, another Bruno. I just had a Bruno that joined my mentorship. When was that? Last week, right? Bruno joined my mentorship last week on Tuesday, I think, right? And he has been for many, many months trying to get, to get an international job, right? The market's very, very hot right now. There's lots of possibilities, lots of opportunities, but he's been trying and he could not get a international job. He did lots of interviews. He gave up. After many months trying it, he gave up, right? And he totally gave up. And then when he gave, I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm a terrible developer. I don't have what it takes. I need lots more years of experience to get this. It's terrible. I don't want this anymore. I've tried and I failed. So when he gave up, he got an email talking about the developers conference. That's an event that we do several times a year. It just happened 4 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. So it has a free tier. So it's on the online part is free. You can participate for free. And he got an email and said, "Oh, I'm gonna join TDC, right? I'm gonna join." And there's a question from Bruno here in the group, actually, by the way. So I'm gonna join TDC, and he might be watching us, right? So Bruno, if you're there, say hello. If you want to, if you wanna announce yourself. So he joined TDC, and we had the career track on TDC. So he joined the career track, and on the career track, he met me. And I talk about this article that I'm just telling you about, right? This about the meritocracy. He went, read the article, and he joined a product that I have called the Skill Mastery System. There's a product to help you with leadership skills and other important skills that you have, right? And so he joined that program, and then we had a conversation, and then he joined a mentoring group last Tuesday, right? So. Not today's Friday, right? Not this Tuesday, but the previous Tuesday, right? So by this Monday, less than a week after he joined my mentorship program, Bruno got a job, international job, right? Not only he got an international job, but it's more than what he wanted. He wanted a job just so he could work remotely for an international company. But he actually got a company that's hired him. And in a month from now, they're going to move him to Portugal with his family, because that was his next dream. The next dream was after he got an international job, he wanted to move to another country, right? So he made the 2 big dreams for his life in less than a week. Why? Why? Because Bruno has like a magic wand that says, bopty boo, right? It's like, and then he gets his wish. No, right? It's because he is a senior developer for many, many years, right? And so once you're a senior developer for many, many years, you have all the technical skills to grow as much as you want. But then you get stuck with the meritocracy thing, right? You don't realize that there is a break here. If you don't become a leader, you get stuck right here, right? And I have no problem whatsoever that people get stuck right here if they're not stuck. If they say, that's what I want to do, and that's great for me, right? I have another great friend that, he moved from Brazil to the US several years ago, and he's right here, right? Actually, he might have done some of the other things, but he's pretty much right here. And he loves it. He goes to his company. He works from 9 to 5, right? He never had 1 minute of overtime in his life, right? He just, by the end of the day, he just goes home. He go enjoy his family. That's what he wants to do. And I think what's awesome. That's great, right? You can continue to be a senior developer. You can continue to increase your salary. You can continue to do your development, and that's great. But the point I want to make is that a senior developer, a staff engineer, is not a senior developer that earns more money. It's not. right? A staff engineer is someone that is a different position, right? It's a position, it's a leadership position that you have to take. You reduce the amount of code that you do, but you increase your influence in the company, right? Make sense? And interesting enough, guys, look, the more you grow, right? I asked you how many people had more than 10 years of experience in the beginning, right? And there's several people with more than 10 years. You get to a point that you don't want to do, right? You don't want to be the guy that kind of spends nights because there's a bug in production that you cause, and then you spend the whole weekend fixing that, right? You get to a point that you don't want to do this because you have other things to do in your life, right? You want to have more impact in your company, and you want to have less of that weight in your shoulders, and that's good. All of these are choices, right, that we make, right? And so when you decide to do that, remember that there is the leadership skill is gonna be the one to make, right? Make sense? Because again, it's not only the meritocracy in terms of technology, right? Is the leadership? I mean, there's so many skills with the leadership skills, right? We have negotiation, for example, right? We have to listen to people. We have to communicate, right? We have to be visible. There's so many skills around leadership that, you can't really, it's very hard to judge, right? It's different than you're going to be hired for a company and the company says, hey, Jim, we're going to hire you as a consulting for the company. Do this Java test here, and we're going to see if you're good or not, right? That's one thing that you can do. I told you.
Go solve this coding challenge.
Yeah, I totally disagree with that, by the way, right? If you're going through this kind of problems, if you interviewed for companies, you're going through this kind of problems, talk to me, right? This is not necessary. But anyway, you get to this kind of thing, because people are judging you on the quality of your code. They're judging you on the technical ability, right? But here, they're going to be judging you on the leadership skills, right? And funny enough, which one's the first leadership skill that I put here? Negotiation, right? So if they're going to be judging you on your ability to convince them that you're good, right? And I love that because it means that a lot of your growth, it's your responsibility. It stops being like the guy was asking about, oh, the people like me in the company and they review me. It stops being that and being more your skills, right? Your ability to go there, to make yourself visible, to put yourself in the right projects, to get involved in other things that make sense. Make sense? All right. So I talked too much already, right? So the guys. Oh, by the way, let me just say, because I just did that, and I'm gonna warn you. I'm very tired, right? Because I came, I'm traveling.
A lot today.
Yeah, I'm traveling since I left my house yesterday at 3 p.m. Brazil time. It was, you guys are 2 hours behind, so it was 1 p.m. your time here. I left my house yesterday, right? So I'm straight here, right? So I'm very tired. So when I get very tired, there's two things that I do. I talk garbage, right? And I switch languages. Right. So most times I notice, like I just did, I spoke Portuguese to them, and I noticed, and I stopped myself right in the middle of the word, right? But sometimes I don't, right? And if I start looking at you guys looking funny, it's just because I switch languages. I'm speaking to you in Portuguese, right? So Mark knows that, right, Mark? Because we have this call very late at night, and so sometimes I get garbage. And I had one time we had this one of the big things that I did that very few people know is that I helped a lot with the open source of Java, right? I was the guy to kind of start this whole movement, worldwide movement, to discuss this whole thing, right? And one of those efforts, and actually it's very nice because I said this the other day. in a podcast, right? The guy asking me, but Bruno, what's your, people say that you have some influence on that. What? And then I said, well, there was actually an article from someone interviewed Jonathan Schwartz, and they asked him, why do you open source Java? Why did Sun decide to open source Java? And his answer was, it was because of Brazil, right? And so not because that discussion and the reasons why the Brazilian government wanted to an open source Java made a lot of sense, right? But anyway, in one of the discussions we had lots of people from Sun and lots of people from the Brazilian government, right? And so the guys in the Brazilian side, they did not speak English. And the guys on the Sun side, of course, did not speak Portuguese, right? And so we had this long whole day discussion, right? And the guy everyone laughed. I mean, everyone changed, right? The Sun, they would change the Sun person, they would change the government people. But who was the person that didn't change? Me, right? Because I was translating from English to Portuguese, from Portuguese to English, and giving my ideas in the middle, right? And so many times, right, by the end of the day, many times I was, the guy was saying something and I was translating, but I was just repeating what the guy was saying. So the guy would speak to me in Portuguese, and I would just repeat the Portuguese, right? And the other person was like, what? And vice versa. So no. So if I do that, but the guys that got here later, so thanks for joining us. Not a problem. I just want you to catch up, right? So it makes sense the rest of the day, right? Thank you. So basically, we're talking about the whole idea. I mean, we have three big, maybe four big paths for you as a developer, right? So just kind of recapitulate it a little bit. So the first path is the one that most people pursue, most people know about, is the manager path, right? So you become a manager. This first path. The second path is the one that a lot of us want to do, right? That is continue to be technical, and that's what we call it here the staff plus, right? So that you become either staff engineer, principal engineer, distinguished engineer. We call all of these staff plus, right? That is the position that you grow parallel to the manager track, but you grow without having reports, without having direct reports. So you continue to be a technical person. There is a third focus that is you become you build your own company, right? You become an entrepreneur. You build your own company. You become and actually I said four, but it's kind of three because we're kind of mixing this whole thing together, right? So you can you build your own company. You can work for a startup. You can become a freelancer or a consultant, right? All of these we're kind of putting this in. So maybe three big paths that you can take for you to grow beyond senior level, right? Okay, so that's what we're talking about. Here we have the archetypes so basically when we ask it here, no one wants to be an entrepreneur. That's good. So we're not going to talk about this unless there's some questions. If there's a question, I'll always answer questions. Very few people want to be a manager, so we have focus here on the more technical positions and staff. Okay, and so there's four archetypes: tech leads, architect, solver, and right hand. We can talk more about those. Okay, so make sense? So everything goes from there. And what I was saying when you guys walking in is that for me the biggest skills they're going to have to move from that position of field developer to the staff plus is the leadership skills, right? And under leadership, there's a bunch of skills here, right? They're for me, all of them are connected to leadership. All right, that good? Okay, so let's do questions a little bit. So, I mean, there's questions from that Scott has here, but how about you guys? I came all the way from Brazil to Houston, right? So let's see who's here, right? Or people online, right? So look, I prefer, even if you wrote your question already, I prefer to answer the question of people that are online, right? So if you wrote your question, you can point me and I'm going to answer your question because you wrote a question before you joined online, and also people that are here, right? So
Craig asked, can you talk more about negotiation?
So what I want to, in terms of questions, right? So what I want to do, I want you to tell me what either situation or more specific, right? I can talk, I can talk the whole night here only on negotiation. So be more specific, Craig, what you want to negotiate. Negotiate salary, negotiate position. What exactly you want to negotiate, right? So while Craig is typing there, you, sir, you raise your hand.
How do you demonstrate leadership ability and skills when you are in the staff plus or even in the senior side?
Okay, that's a very, very good question. How do you demonstrate things? And that's what we're talking about right before you join here. We're talking about the meritocracy, right? The idea that if you're good enough, people are going to notice, and then you're going to grow automatically, right? That does not exist. I want you to understand that, guys. That does not exist. It's not, oh, yes, people, there's two things that people tell me. Oh, if I'm good enough, everyone's going to notice. That's false. And the second thing people tell me is that, oh, if I'm good enough, then salary is a consequence. That's also false, right? You know, I know a lot of amazing developers that they're in the same position for many, many years, right? And I know a lot of developers that earn very little money, and a lot of great developers that earn very little money. So it's not true that people are going to magically notice you, right? So it's something that you're going to have to work on, right? You have to be visible, right? You have to show people what you're doing, right? And so I think that's a very, very important skill. And I call this like the whole umbrella of skills around that. I call this share what you know, right? Share what you know, okay? Right? You know, so it's not about you going, how do you say, play your own flute? That's the expression? Yeah? Okay, it's flute. Oh, play your own tune. Okay, yeah, so play your own tune. No, it's not about you talking about yourself, right? Because let me tell you one thing. There's nothing more annoying than you talking about, you trying to promote yourself, right? It's very annoying, right? And you know this, right? You know that there's the me person, right? You know, it's that guy that you say, oh, you know what? I had a friend like this. I had a friend like this that he would, you know, anything that anyone says, he would one up.
Yes.
Right? You know, oh, you know, I did a software in Java. Oh, you know, I did a software in Java 8. Right? You know, oh, I went to see the rockets in Houston. Oh, you know, I went to the NASA launch, right? No, so there's always one up. And for me, the one was like, I can't believe that. We were in the airport, and he said, I might give away who that guy is, right? So I mean, not for you guys, but for himself, right? So we were in the airport, and there's a father with like you know, talking with a kid or something, and then he, you know, the father said, oh, you know, you have a kid. He said, no, I actually have two. Right? The other one is with the mom over there. And then said, oh, because I have 3. I'm like, what? You don't, right? Like, where's it? But anyway, so don't talk about yourself, man. Don't talk about yourself. So you share what you know, right? You go help other people. Now, interesting enough, is that I've been telling you guys here lots of things about me. This whole discussion here, right? I told you that I have a consulting company. I told you that I have that I do a mentorship, right? I told you lots of things about me, right? But I didn't just talk about me. I just use those things as stories, right? That to illustrate things that we're talking about here, right? Is anyone bothered when I mentioned that I have my own consulting company? Did you got bothered when I said that, right? But if I had been here, hey guys, my name is Bruno, and I have a consulting company. Let me talk about my consulting company. You'd be like, what's this guy's coming up here for, right? You know, so yes. So the less you talk about yourself as a leader, the less you talk about yourself, the more people listen to you, right? So so that's a very important skill, right? So be able to share what you know, right? But by not talking about yourself, right? So that's an interesting. We can actually have a discussion.
Share what you've learned.
No, just share. well, it's not, so here, let me tell you one thing about sharing. The only thing is, when I say this, people, oh, so I need to share, but not talk about me. But let me tell you one thing, one secret here. The only thing you can share is you. It's you. There's nothing else you can share but you, right? So absolutely every single word that I open my mouth here to speak is about me. Why? I can only share my experience, the things that I've learned, the project that I did, the work that I'm working on, the book that I read. I can only share me, right? But how can I only share me without talking about me, right? Because I'm not here to talk about me. I didn't travel all the way from Brazil from here to here to be here talking about who Bruno is, right? I travel all the way here because you guys registered for this talk saying, I have a problem, right? There's look at all those questions here, right? You're not here. You didn't come here, maybe Jim, because you're my friend, maybe Scott, right? But you actually, when I talked with Mark, right, I said, hey, Mark, I'm coming to Houston, so maybe we can meet in person, right? And then Mark said, I'm interested in that topic. He didn't say, hey, Bruno, he's my friend, and we have, we worked together for a whole year. We have never met each other in person, right? So it'd be natural that Mark said, oh, man, we were working together for a whole year. I haven't met you, so I'm going to see you. But he didn't say that. He said, I'm interested in that topic, so I want to go there. Exactly, because you guys are here not to hear Bruno, the guy from Brazil that traveled 20 hours to be here. You're here because you have a problem. You're interested in that topic. You want to grow your career. There's something that you want to do, and I can help you with, or you think you can help me with. And then you come here and you watch 5 minutes. Oh man, is this what this guy's going to talk about himself? I'm out of here. Then you go out because I cannot help you if I'm talking about myself. Make sense? Right? So, can I tell you something? You just arrived here, yeah. So late, right? So I'm not gonna pick you on this, but can I tell you something that's gonna hurt?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right, so what's your name? Erica.
Yes.
So Erica, no one cares about you, Erica. Right? Yes, no one cares about you, no one cares about you, Scott, no one cares about you, Jim, no one cares about you, Mark, right? No one cares about any of you. People don't care about us. They care about how you, Erica, can help them solve their problems. People care about how you can help them get what they want, right? So if you share what you know by helping other people get what they want, they care about you. They care about what you know because you can help them get what they want. So why do I'm saying this? Because being a leader, that answering your question, being a leader is about listening to all the people in your company, right? And understanding what's that they want. And if you can help them get what they want by what you know, man, they really want to work with you, right? And that's an interesting thing because a lot of times we are here, we're a senior developer, and you're like, oh, you know what? I want to learn containers. I want to learn Docker, right? So let me show to my company that we should use Docker so I can learn Docker, right? And then we say, hey, boss, I want to use Docker. And your boss says, why? Oh, because it's a cool technology. And he says, what? Who cares, right? We don't need that. And then you get mad at your company, like, oh, my company doesn't want to use the new technologies, so I'm getting out of here. But if you actually come to people and say, hey guys, what kind of problems you're going through right now? Oh, we are having, our deploy process is very long, or we're having too many bugs in production, or we spend too much time over weekends trying to fix things, right? And then you can say, okay, I understand those problems, right? Let me talk to you the way we could use Docker to solve that problem. And then people are gonna pay attention to you.
You present a value proposition.
Yeah, it's not actually a value proposition. You have to map what you're gonna talk about to what they need. right? It's not only a value. Actually, I had this discussion a few years ago. Look, I was going to talk about mentorship here because I really believe in mentorship, right? It's like one of the best things you can do for others and that you can do for yourself, right? So, some time ago, I had this problem. Look, I wanna convince people to take this action, right? And so I need to see everything you're gonna gain by taking this action, right? And so something to my mentor said, look, I'm not very good at this, right? Because I kind of list everything they're gonna gain, and I don't know which, I don't know how to phrase the right way of saying it, all those benefits they're gonna gain. And then the guy told me, he said, Bruno, you don't list the values, right? Who tells you the values is the person. They know their values. They know what they want to get. What you're going to do is that you're going to show that if they take that action, they're going to get that thing that they want. So it's not you that define the value, it's they define the value, right? One time I was on a consulting customer, and this guy that sat near me, he said, "Oh, I have this meeting with my boss, right? It's gonna be, maybe I'm gonna get something good." So he went to the meeting, right? And then when he come back, he was like, "Yeah, okay." He was not very excited. And said, "So how it went, right? Yeah, I got a raise." "Oh, that's cool, man. So awesome. You got a raise." And said, "I really wanted a better computer."
That's right.
Right? That's what the leader tries to find out. Right? Because really, sometimes what people want is it's if you give them, if you help them achieve, it's not you give to them, but if you help them achieve what they want, they're much more interested in what you have to say. Make sense? And we're gonna do an exercise. So, Jim, I'm gonna round off questions, but we could do some exercise here too, right?
Sure, yeah.
All right.
Absolutely, whatever you want.
So what's the question? Did Brian compliment his question about negotiation? Does he have a specific negotiation thing that he wants?
Craig, is there something specific about a negotiation that you were interested in?
Oh, no, Brian, it's Craig.
Yes, Craig, yeah.
Craig. Okay, yes, I said I was waiting for him to compliment, but he never did, right?
No, he didn't. He asked about coding tests, just,
Well, yeah, and there was one, you made a comment, Jim, and Bruno said that it's not about coding test your coding skills. There's better ways of negotiating to show your value. And you,
Okay.
Bruno, I think you said you were very against code tests. So I wanted to follow up with that.
Interviews, yes. Yes, on interviews. Okay, so you want to hear a little bit about that? Okay, good. So that's a little. It's a very important thing because for you to get yourself a staff plus position, you're gonna have to negotiate that, right? Either inside your company, because if your company has those positions, you're gonna have to negotiate you into them, right? Remember, a staff engineer is different than being a better senior, right? So you might get your boss, a good boss, and say, "Hey, man, you know what? I want you to be more influential. I want you to do more things. Are you interested?" So you might get a boss that says that, right? But more often than not, you're gonna have to show your boss that you're the right guy to take that position, right? A lot of times, because maybe the staff engineer position is not your boss. You're gonna report you, right? So you're gonna have to negotiate that regard for sure. Another thing that you're gonna have to negotiate is that if your company does not have any of that, then you might need to negotiate for your company to create those positions for you, right? Totally possible, guys. Totally possible, right? On my book, The Best Developer Job Ever, I talk about a guy that he was going to leave his company, right? Because he had an awesome offer for another company. But he was able to negotiate inside his company for them to build a department for him, right? So they create an innovation department because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to leave his company to do more innovative things, right? And so he actually convinced his company to build an innovation department inside the company so he could stay, right? So it's totally possible, guys. It's totally possible for you to show your company that you can be better. You can help them better by doing other things. So you can do that. If you want, once you understand that those positions exist and your company does, and so first of all, go find out if your company have that, right? So if you know that they have that, how do you get yourself into them, right? Second thing is your company doesn't have that. How do we create that for you? It might sound crazy, but it's not. Companies want the best thing that you can give them, right? You know, it makes no sense. Guys, I always say this, you go through an interview process. Have you ever thought about that an interview process is you're selling a product that's worth $1 million? Have you ever thought about that? Right? You know, just make if you make $100,000 a year, for example, in salaries, right? And that's I'm not saying anything any value that's like, oh man, that's an impossible value. It's the other way around, right? So it's not such a big thing, right? So if you're making $100,000 a year, or less than that, $80,000 a year, right? Then in 10 years, the company's paying you $1 million, right? So when you sit down for an interview process, you know, people like just, oh yes, I go to an interview, and it's just, oh yes, they call me, so I'm just gonna go there, right? Come on, think about it. You know, let's say you walk into a car sales dealer, for example, right? And the guy's gonna try to sell you a $1 million car, right? Do you think he should be prepared to sell you $1 million car? Or do you think he's just gonna wing it, right? You know, it's the same thing. I mean, you walk into an interview process, you're selling a $1 million product. That's you, right? And it's worth way more than $1 million, right? Because if they pay you $1 million, because they, you know, it's worth more than $1 million, right? And so, and you're just gonna say, oh yeah, I'm just gonna wing it, right? You gotta know who you are, really, right? You know, if you walk into you really gotta know who you are. So, where I was going with that? Okay, so, but anyway.
Negotiation.
I know it's negotiation, but I think I was trying to get to a specific point, but you know, so really, when you're gonna get into those positions, you're gonna have to convince your company to hire, or if your company doesn't have that, right? You might, and your company doesn't want you to put you in those positions, you might have to work for another company that have that, right? So it's a reality, right? So no matter what situation you are, your company does that, your company doesn't have that, but you want it to have, or you want to leave your company, no matter what it is, you will have to negotiate, right? Now, the question about interviews is the following, right? So, you know, a lot of people, the senior developer is a position that people are desperate to hire, right? So they're going to call you and say, hey, come interview, right? And so interviews for me, there's just two types of interviews, right? There's what?
I would say good and bad.
Good and bad. No, there's two types of interviews, right? There's two types of interviews. I mean, there's two paths for interview. The one is the path that I call the rejection path, right? So what's the rejection path? Is that, you know, I have a position, lots of people apply to that position, or I call lots of people and ask the resume for that position, right? And so, and my job, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do. I never heard of you, right? You know, and so my job as an interviewer is to reject you, right? That's what I do. I look at your resume. Oh, this guy doesn't have Java, throw away. Oh, this guy here doesn't have C#, throw away, right? You know, I look at your resume and I reject you, right? And then, okay, so there's this bunch of people here have everything I want, right? So let's interview them. So the first interview, what do? I throw you lots of things to see if you fail, right? If you fail, I reject you. What's the idea? Look, that's not, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's a normal thing, right? The idea is if I interview enough people and I reject everyone that I don't want, eventually I'm going to find the one person I want, right? It's very reasonable, very good. It's a normal way, and it's scaled, right? To bring lots of people in and scales, and I hire people to interview, and that's great, right? But there's a second path that I call the acceptance path. It's very simple. I know you, right? That's it. I know you. I've worked with you. I know you from the user group. I use your open source project. I read your book, right? I watch your talk. I know you. I know you can solve my problem, right? So what do? I call you and say, hey, Jim, I have a position that's exactly the problem that you solve, and I need someone like you. Do you want to work for me? What happens if Jim says yes? He's hired. That's it, right? That's it. Done. If Jim says yes, he's hired, right? Now, what happens if I call Jim and I say, Jim, I have this position, it's great for you. And Jim says to me, look, man, I have a big family, I don't work overtime. Oh, no, that position needs overtime. Okay, so I don't want it. All right, then I call Scott. Hey, Scott, do you want that position? And Scott says, you know what? I only work from home. Oh, no, that position you have to come to the office. Okay, so Scott doesn't want it. Then I call Mark and say, hey, Mark, do you want that position? Mark says, I'll only go if I can program in Perl. Oh, yeah. Mark is one of the top Perl developers in the planet. So, yes, that's a good reason, right? So no, that's a position for Java. So Mark doesn't want. So there's all kinds of just problems and constraints, right? That people, that the position is not amazing. So everyone said no. So when everyone says no, what do? Do I close the position?
Either deconstrain or you keep looking.
No, what do? I announce the position because until now, no one knows about it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Until now, it's only Jim, Scott, and Mark that know because it's just in my head. I know I need that person, right? I'm just calling people that I know. I'm just calling people that I trust. That's the word, guys. Trust, right? I'm just calling people that I trust. And the moment I run out of people that I trust, what do? I put in a website. No, I don't. I don't put in a website. I call Jim back and say, hey, Jim, you have a user group, man. Do you know anyone in user group? And then if Jim suggests someone that I don't know, but Jim knows, then I might hire that guy. And when I run out of indications, right, then I might put that position available. So when you see a position on the website, there's only two possibilities. Either one, that position does not exist because someone, because that position is for Jim and Jim has already accepted and it's just on the website because I have to put it on the website, right? So the position does not exist and you just think it does, but you don't know. Or two is a position that a lot of people rejected and it's what's left over. I'm not kidding, guys. Research shows that up to 75% of the position in the market, it's what we call the hidden job market. Google it. The hidden job market.
The hidden job market?
The hidden, thank you. The hidden job market. So I've been saying this word wrong for years.
It's okay.
Right? The hidden job market, right? So the worst of all is that I cannot even use that excuse because when I tell people in Portuguese, I call it a hidden job market.
I like your way. Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Okay, right, they hide it, right, they hide it.
Hiding job market.
I say the hide job market, right? And then I translate, I say the hide job market, and then I translate to Portuguese. So I say wrong even when I say Portuguese.
Just all them jobs are hiding.
Okay, so the hidden job market, right? So, but it's true, right? The jobs are hidden, right? They're not visible. No one knows about them. It's in my head. Now, think about it. For those positions here, guys, those positions are independent people, right? They're gonna run their own stuff, right? They're gonna have big influence in the company. Do you think it's only 75%? Right? The position that you want, the position that pays a lot of money, that can work remote, that you have independence, that you can do what you want, those positions, they fill very fast, because when I call you, you say yes. Right? And so it's like 80%, 90%, 98%, I don't know. So for those positions, you have to negotiate. You're gonna have to be visible. People need to trust you. Now, when I say that, let me be honest, when I say that, people get uncomfortable. Because we actually have a, in Portuguese, we say that for you to get amazing jobs, you need high IQ. But the IQ that we use is who indicates you, right? It's an acronym for who indicates you, right? So it's not, you know, it's a plain word, because we get that. You're like, man, this is terrible. Look at this market, right? It's a terrible market because look, you know, you have all these people that know each other and they just hire each other. And that's terrible. Yes, you can see that way. But the way I see is the following. In the rejection path, you have zero control. Zero. There's nothing you can do, right? Because on the rejection path, my job is to reject you. So I'm going to be looking for things you don't know. I'm going to be looking for things that you're not good at, right? I'm going to be throwing you problems, crazy, stupid questions with crazy interview questions and crazy development questions to reject you. That's my job, is to reject you. So you have zero control. On the acceptance path, on the other hand, you have 100% control because you are the person that puts yourself in the market. You make your visibility. You share what you know. You do all the work. So 100%, it's 100% on you. You decide what you want to do. You decide the jobs you want. You are in control. So I'm not sure you guys, but I prefer to participate in a process I'm in control instead of a process that has zero control. Right? So for all of you here, I would suggest that you put yourself in the market. You go share what you know. You make yourself a leader. And then those positions will find you. They will. They will find you. Because the moment I know that you are a specialist in performance, in Java, in cloud application, and I watch you talking about this, and I have a problem, I'm going to call you because I trust you. Right? And so the question, people say, Bruno, that this does not exist, Bruno. Does not exist, right? Of course, there's so many great companies that think everyone has to go to those code interviews. So here, let me ask you one question, right? So who here knows who James Gosling is? All right, so the people that don't know. So James Gosling, the guy that created Java, right? So who here knows Java is a programming language? All right, okay, so the guy that created Java, right? So the father of Java, James Gosling. So James Gosling left Oracle, and he worked for two companies, Google, and now he's at Amazon. Two companies are very famous for doing code interviews, right? My question is, do you think that James Gosling did a single code interview for this company? Right? No, he did not. I can guarantee you. Now, can you imagine a recruiter from Amazon saying, hey, James, you know, I'm going to send you some code interviews that you have to prepare for an interview. What would he say? Right? No, he would not say that because he would not even reply to the email. He would say, this guy has no idea who I am. Right. He's clueless. He's trying to hire a normal developer. He has no idea who I am. I'm not even going to reply to this email, right? And I'm sure all of you have got messages like this, right? Recruiters send you messages and say, and just by looking what the recruiter says, you say, this guy has no idea what I am, who I am, what I do. I'm not even going to reply, right? So that's what James Goss would do. He would not even reply to that, right? So, but the fact that James Goss is a distinguished engineer, right? He's a VP level, right? Means that those positions are hired without code interview, right? You know, I was talking for a friend of mine. I'm not going to say his name because he's working in an amazing company. So, and he told me that he was going through some interview process to another amazing company. And they asked him to do all kinds of code interviews. They sent like a long email with all the things that he needs to prepare for the interviews. And he called me and said, Bruno, I'm just going to say no, right? And he said, look, he said, I wrote several books, right? I have hundreds of presentations. I have a YouTube channel with everything that I did. If those guys, if that's not enough for them to want to hire me, what can I say in an interview? What kind of test can I do in an interview that's going to prove that I'm enough if all those things are not? Right? Make sense? So if you want to get one of those positions.
Absolute sense.
Sorry?
I said absolute sense.
Oh, awesome. Was that Basur speaking this? It sounds like Basur, isn't it?
And it was,
No?
Parag.
Oh, Parag. Hey, Parag. Because I have a good friend of mine that was talking to him the other day. And, okay. All right. So, anyway, makes sense? So if you want to be one of those positions,
It makes sense from the engineer side.
Mhm.
I feel it's very difficult on the other side as a manager trying to hire people.
Right. Oh, yes, yes.
It means I would have to go and go and embed myself in all these different groups so I can meet people, know people.
Right.
So that I can call Jim.
No.
I can
Look,
call.
I do understand that this process does not scale, right? It does not scale. That's why companies have other processes, right? But I don't care about them, honestly. I don't care about them. Why? I care about you, right? You know, I care about you. I just want you to know that if you want the most amazing positions,
Yeah.
those positions are going to be available in the hidden job market.
If you're worried about being part of a scalable commodity process, you're going to be treated like a commodity.
Whoa,
Man, that's deep.
that's deep.
That is deep.
That is deep. Exactly. So no, look, I do understand the manager problem. And I sympathize with the manager problem. If that's your problem, I sympathize a lot with you, right? You know that. It's hard. It's very hard to hire, right? Hiring is
I'll call Jim tomorrow and he'll hang up on me.
exactly, right? So, you know,
Say, hi, Alan.
it's very hard to hire. I know that. I know it's very hard to hire, right? And so this whole process I'm talking about does not scale. But what I'm telling you, Alan, right? So to Alan, you know, I understand your side, but let's say the moment you think about a position, you have a problem in your company, and you have a position that you want to hire someone, right? And don't you immediately think about people that you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that's the point, guys. You know, the moment you think about a position, you say, oh, I know this guy, maybe he wants. And then a lot of times, that's the problem, guys. A lot of times the manager, he's gonna call that person and say, you know what, guys, hey, Jim, I have this position. And Jim's gonna say yes. And then at that moment in time, Paul's gonna have to say, oh, man, now I'm gonna have to hire Jim. So let me call HR. Hey, HR, I'm gonna send you a guy, and I already agree with him that he's gonna get that much money, and his position is gonna be that. And HR said, okay, that's great. So what first thing that HR does? They hang up on Paul and says, okay, guys, let's type a position on the website. Right? And then you see an amazing position website, and you're like, man, that position is for me, right? It looks like me. I'm gonna apply to it, right? and then you apply to the position, and it gets to HR, and HR sends to Paul, right? And what does Paul does with that email from HR? He doesn't even know that. He doesn't even notice, right? And so then you go home like, man, I must be really bad. I must be a terrible developer. I applied to a position that it looks like for me, right? I know all the skills. They don't even reply. Look who's there. Who's there? Oops.
There.
Hey guys, what are you doing there? Everyone's opened the. Oh, he went away.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Must
We
be
got.
HR.
Oh, there's
You got-
Kirk. There's Kirk.
Oh, he's back. We got a Java champion in the group here. Hey, Kirk, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. How you doing, Bruno?
Awesome.
You
I'm
look
closer
awesome.
to you right now. Not so close, but closer to you.
Yeah, I heard Houston.
Yeah, Houston right now. With
Excellent.
our great friend Jim.
I see there. Hi, Jim.
Hey, Kirk, how are you?
Doing good. How you doing?
This is Kirk Pepperdine, right? He's one of the top specialists in Java performance, right? Lives in Canada. I'm promising him that I'm going to go visit him, but I haven't had that chance yet.
Oh well, I visited you. It's your turn now.
No, you did visit me. You're totally right. And Kirk is one of, so the good thing about having those guys here is Kirk is one of the most vocal Java champions in the group, and he helps define. I mean, he always talking about how to become a Java champion, right? So he helps define the process of becoming a Java champion. We all participate in the process on defining it, but Kirk is very vocal, very participating on that part. So if you want to be a Java champion, that's the guy to talk to, right? That's the guy for you to follow. That's the guy for you to listen to.
No, listen to Bruno. He's got all the answers.
Okay, Kirk, let me ask one thing here, man. So,
Yes.
We're talking about, I'm not sure how long you've been here, right? But we're talking about the whole staff plus position, the position after senior level. And what you took one of the paths that I think that I mentioned here, and not a lot of people are interested in taking that path, by the way, is that you build your own company, right? And so
That's
you build your own company, and your company was acquired by Microsoft. Now you work for Microsoft, and you do have an influential position inside Microsoft. So you are, I'm not sure exactly which one you are. You are distinguished engineer right now. You're pretty, I don't know exact position you are, but you have an influential position inside Microsoft, being a technical person. So what can you tell everyone here about that?
About the technical position in Microsoft.
How'd you get, not necessarily Microsoft, but to get a position like you have?
Oh, right. Wow. I don't know. It's nothing that I can say that I planned. I didn't build a company planning on selling it to Microsoft. It was sort of a confluence of, one second, sorry, of events that it was a perfect storm of events that led us being acquired by Microsoft. But I think one of the key things one of the points that was key in the deal was that our involvement with the community and our engagement with the community, and the fact that we're involved with the London Java community and the building of the of the Adopt program, Adopt OpenJDK. That's a program that myself and my business partners were involved with fairly heavily. We defined a lot of the infrastructure behind that project. And when we launched, we quickly got into the literally tens of millions of downloads of this product. And I think it put a lot of pressure on some of the commercial companies themselves to actually, I think, create better conditions for people in the Java community. So I don't know. It's just one of those things that happened, and this was a part of the path along our way for trying to be trying to be innovative in terms of defining tools to help with performance diagnostics. And and we've done a lot of work on that front, and we continue to do that work within the confines of Microsoft. I think it's within Microsoft, it's like we have basically Azure as our playground, which means that we have boatloads of data that we can actually use because we're using a lot of artificial intelligence and techniques like that internal internal to our product, right? So which means that the more data we get, the better training we can get, the better results we can get from the engines and things like that. So I mean, that's sort of a side effect, but really, I think it was a lot of the things that Microsoft wanted in terms of rehabilitating their reputation was to say that we're now here for language communities, Java being one of them, and they knew that that we had good reach into the community. It's like, how do we develop this reach? It's like being involved, just simply being out there, being involved, doing things. Writing about your experiences, so I have focused on performance tuning, so that's pretty much what I stuck to. I don't write about other things or try to step outside of other things. I certainly don't give career advice like Bruno does, because he really is has a way of organizing thoughts and processes that it's really it's super to see. And it's super to watch. I enjoy watching it myself because of, there's a lot of good ideas and good advice wrapped up in there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry for rambling.
Thanks a lot, Kirk. Thanks a lot, man. Yeah. So look, you actually got here, Kirk, and you answered the question we had here before. So how do we do that? How do you get visible, right? And the way to get visible, we're talking about here, how you get visible is about helping people, right? Helping people achieve what they want. And a great way to help people achieve what they want is by getting involved in a community, right? So there's two things you can do. They're super important. Is one, you can get involved in communities, right? So for example, you can get involved in the Houston User Group here with Jim. You can get involved with open source project, right? That you can participate like Kirk did. So you can get involved in an existing community, and I think you should. I really think you should get involved in existing communities. But the second thing,
can I add something, Bruno?
Wait, one second. Just want to finish the thought here. 1 second. So the second thing you have that I really think you should do is create communities, right? Not only get involved, but create communities, right? So because look, what is a leader, right? A leader, guys, is not someone that tells people what to do. A leader is someone that's followed, right? And you can't force people to follow you. You can always say, I'm going to go that way, and then you go that way and no one follows you. So you're not a leader, right? But if you're able to say, I'm going to go that way and people follow you. So basically what you're doing as a leader all the time is you're building communities. You're building communities inside of a small team inside a company. You're building community inside a larger team when you get lots of teams to work together on something. You're building, so building community is so important. So that's why Jim, for example, is building his open source project. He's building a community around it. That's why, and look, but Bruno, there is already a Houston Java user group, right? So why I'm going to create another Java user group? I'm not saying to create another Java user group. Remember, we're talking about sharing what you know, right? And sharing what you know, it's something that you know. So for example, Kirk, he's a Java developer, and he could create a Java user group, yes, right? But he went on to create a community around performance, right? Because that's the thing that he did. Look, when you create, let's get Kirk as an example, right? Kirk is a specialist in performance. How many times can Jim invite a specialist of performance to come talk to the Houston Java user group? I mean, like
maybe once a year.
Once a year, right? So I mean, so if Kirk, right, doesn't have his own community interested in going deep in performance, he's never going to go deep in performance. But if Kirk builds his own community around performance, the people that go there They want to hear about performance every single month or every single day because they're interested. So two things you got to be thinking about. One is participate in communities. And that's Paul. That's how you get, sorry. Okay,
That's okay, I look like.
no problem. I called you Paul twice and you didn't say anything, so I was so happy, man, I got it right.
Can I add something, Bruno?
So Alan, that's how you do, Alan. You go participate in community to meet people. But also, the other thing you do, you build your own communities of people that are interested in your software, in your company, in what you do, in the topics that you're interested in, right? Because that's how you attract people to you, right? But Bruno, there's too many communities already. No, there's not, guys. There's always room for a group of people to meet, right? For 2, 3, 10 people to meet and discuss the topic they're interested in. And communities don't need to be like user groups that last for years. You just have a group of 10 people discussing performance for 6 months, and that's already valuable. And if the group dissolves, that's okay too. Make sense? So someone's going to say something.
Yeah. So at the beginning, you said I have enormous power or whatever, something like that within Microsoft. The reality is I have none. I don't have any power at all. Nothing.
That's that influence, not power.
It sort of ties in because, we want to take our tooling and we want to try to get it integrated into Microsoft's environment and use it within Microsoft's environment. And the only way that we can do that is to build communities within Microsoft. So one of the first things that we did within Microsoft, we looked at it and said, okay, where are the other Java developers? And we found that there's, several thousand Java developers within Microsoft, but they were all disconnected and all over the place. So the first thing we did was we did what we did in the outside world. We just said, oh, okay, well, here's a common interest. And we started building a community around it. And that, so far, we have attracted somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 Java developers within Microsoft into our community. And we've done that in a little more than a year. And not only that, we can now pull on that network because they're helping us actually with building out our tooling, right? So we're getting people to help us and cooperate with us. And it's not part of their job. They're doing it because they want to, because they see value in what they're doing and they want to be involved and participate. And it's not like we're telling them what to do. We've never told them what to do. We just said, here's the opportunities, do what you can. And at that point, people have just, have gone off and said, okay, I'm interested. I would like to take this little bit or that little bit. And I think that's the way we run a conference, JCREAT also. You said, here's the opportunity. And, take the bits that you want. And that seemed to work very, very well. And I'll be quiet and you can take me off the big screen if you like.
Oh, no, that's all good. That's all good, man. So there's someone else that made a comment that I cut right in the middle because I didn't want to finish the thought. So can that person come back here and say something? Who was it? Do you know who it was, Jim?
Maybe Parag.
Hey, Parag, was that you? All right, so we're actually getting questions here, right? So what are other questions you guys have that you want to discuss? Here, anyone here have any other questions? Anything that we want to talk about? Is that an offer negotiation? Oops.
And everything's okay. Once
Let me see here.
Yeah.
There's get a question here. Is there a question in the group there?
Yeah, it's up on the big screen here too. So.
Oh. For me, this path getting out there involved going about 12 Rubies and Rails conference and staying and hosting our local Ruby group in Boise for several years. Okay, cool. As those network grew, I was able to focus sustainable energy software solutions. I first talked to someone from Nikola 4 years ago at a conference. I positioned myself in the Ruby community and someone that did rescue project and could be brought in for the heavy lifting. That's cool. Our awareness in the long relationship with Nikola ended with an offer this January for the staff engineer position. Awesome, man. Oh, Brian. So thanks a lot, Brian. That's a great. Yeah. Oh, that's Brian right there. Hey, Brian, do you want to say something, or instead of just writing?
Yeah, sure. I think I'm unmuted now.
Yeah, you're on mute. I don't want to scare you, but you are on the big screen here in the auditorium.
That's okay. So I think, you know, what you're saying about getting out there is definitely right. You know, I road trip to a lot of conferences in the Pacific Northwest, and occasionally I'd get over to the East Coast conferences. But you know, these types of positions, you know, I knew they were available, and you know, I'd run my own consulting business for a number of years, since 1999, like clear back in the dot-com era and stuff. But I'd never worked for a big company, and I knew it was kind of a role that I wanted. And I knew it would take a while to put that together. And so I put myself out there in the community, and I was able to, you know, over time develop a network that facilitated, you know, this offer coming to me. I didn't really apply at a bunch of places. One of the consulting gigs that I had was to build locomotive software for a locomotive manufacturer. And that experience with the fleet software was what and I think Nikola actually created their first staff engineer role for me. And up until that point, they just had senior engineers and some architects there. But that experience doing the fleet software for the locomotives and transitioning that and pivoting it into trucking and transportation, I think really, you know, allowed me to kind of, you know, get into this role. And so I agree with everything that you're saying about, you know, building the networks and being out there in the community. I led our Boise Ruby group for a number of years, it kind of up until COVID started. But yeah, you know, if you put yourself out there and you make the connections, then the opportunities will present themselves. Thanks for giving me a minute to share that.
Oh, man, Brian, thank you, man. That's awesome. Look, that's the kind of discussion that we wanted to have here, right? It's gonna actually see, I know people like you, like Kirk, right? That actually achieve those things. And because what we want is inspire other people here to really do the things that need to be done, right? And actually go after those positions. So congratulations, man. Really happy to hear that from you. And you know, I think it's very well deserved. Congratulations, that's great. And I love what you said, right? The company created, just listen to that, guy. The company created position for me, right? Isn't that an awesome feeling? What do you think, Brian? Was that an awesome feeling when the company decided to create a position for you?
Yeah.
Absolutely, it was. It was a great feeling, you know. And that one of the other things was that at the first part of like 4 years ago, they tried to get me to move to Phoenix. And I live in Idaho, and I'm in the mountains, and there's whitewater here, and I absolutely do not want to move to Phoenix. And so not only did they create that position for me, I told them that I wouldn't take it unless they made it remote.
Look, this every time I see this kind of thing, right? So Brian, I have a case that I wrote in my book of this guy called Daniel. That was actually the other way around, right? So the company called him and wanted to offer him a job, and he did not have a fundamental skill that the company required, right? A fundamental skill. And I'll tell you what it was. It was English, right? He did not speak English, right? And so the company said, that's not a problem. We're gonna pay you a teacher to go to your house every single day for you to learn English so you can participate with us, right? So, you know, and if you go on a rejection process, right? No English, rejected, right? You know, that's how it goes. But if the company wants you guys, they will hire you. They're gonna find ways. It's amazing that when the company wants you, they're gonna figure out a way to change things, to offer you different opportunities, to hire you, right? But for that, there's a catch, right? Is that they need to want you. And for them to want you, they need to trust you. And for them to trust you, they need to know you, right? So if you are not a leader, if you don't show up, if you don't participate, if you don't present yourself, how can I ever know you? Right? And so, and look, there's different ways of doing that, right? But you guys are here, for example, right? So we're meeting each other in person here, right? And so, and I, you know, I had this trip to Atlanta, right? For the DevNext, so that's what I was telling you, that's where I'm gonna go, you know, the event start Tuesday, right? And so I called Jim and said, hey, Jim, I'm coming to DevNexus. Is there a way we can do a meeting on Saturday? Because that's what I wanted. I want to travel today, be here tomorrow, and do a meeting on Saturday. And Jim said, no, sorry, can't do it. Can do it Friday. And I said, okay, Friday, that sounds good. Let me see options, right? Can it be, and then we agree, can it be Friday, 3 o'clock, right? That's what we thought about before in the afternoon. And then didn't work, right? Because there's no flights, right? For me to be here at that time. So I can be there at 3, so I can be in the event at 4. Well, 4 is cutting too close, right? It would be terrible. Right? If you had done 4, it's not going to work. So we did 4:30, right? And so that's putting yourself out there, right? So it's actually pinging Jim. You know, I didn't ping only Jim, right? There's because I'm going to Atlanta. There's a user group in Alabama in Birmingham.
Birmingham.
Birmingham. Yeah, Birmingham. So, and I haven't been there yet, right? And so I messaged the user group. I said, well, it's you know, it's doable. The number of hours to travel by car, it's doable for me to go there. And I pinged the guy, but he replied to me 2 days ago. And I said, well, too late, man. I can't. This doesn't work anymore. It's just, but it's not that what doesn't work for me, because I could go Monday there, right? I have the day there to do that. But there's no way we can actually get people to come to the events if we announce it today, right? It's for Monday. So, but anyway, but that's what putting yourself out there, right? So you're looking for people that need you, right? There's a guy called Adam Rifkin. He's known as one of the top networkers in the world, and he has a saying that says that when you have nothing, right? When you have nothing, search for something you can do to build a relationship that you can help someone, right? So when you have nothing, search for something you can do to build a relationship to help someone, right? So what do I mean by that? Look, I have nothing, right? My friends needs a job, right? Can I call Jim, the guy that I don't know, right? But he's the user group leader. Can I call Jim and say, hey, Jim, look, man, I'd love to help out in the user group so I can bring my friends to the user group. Would that be okay, Jim? And Jim said, yeah, man, you know, we're going to have a meeting next week. There's this guy, this crazy guy coming from Brazil that, you know, might be good. And then you bring your friend with you, and then you help Jim, because now there's more people in the room. You know, can you imagine? Look, I'm a user group leader too, right? Can you imagine when you invite someone and the guy travels and he comes to user group and it's empty, right? It hurts deep, right? It's like, you know, your heart's like you know.
For me, whenever the user group doesn't have any people, it hurts me too.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It hurts us, right?
Both of us.
No, I mean the speaker. You know, I'm okay. You know, I'm a friend of Jim, so I would come, and even there's no one that would be totally fine for me. But there are speakers that they're paid by their companies. They count numbers, right? So when you come to the user group and you bring your friends, you're helping Jim. Although you think, I'm not doing anything. You are, because you're helping Jim to have more people here, to have more interesting discussion, you're helping the speaker, right? And then you're also helping yourself. So that's what I'm saying. So when you have nothing, you reach out to someone in a way to build a relationship so you can help someone, right? And that's how you start. Go ahead, man.
Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a senior developer.
You're what?
I'm a senior developer.
No, your name.
Oh, Daniel.
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 Oh, Daniel. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Daniel. Okay, cool. Daniel. All right.
So along that same note, my question is, what specific tips do you have on not just sharing what you have, but also creating the community? Because as someone that's not really an expert in anything, like more of a generalist, how do you, like, what do you have to offer? Like, how do you get in there?
All right, good. That's a very good question. So my question, Daniel, is the following. You know, do you know Java?
No.
Zero.
Oh, a little bit.
You know a little bit of Java, right? A little bit, right? Not a lot, a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you know enough of Java to teach James Gosling about Java?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? Okay. Now, do you know enough about Java to teach for someone that knows nothing about Java, to teach a high school student, for example?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so Daniel, me and you are in the same boat, right? You know, we know enough to teach someone, but we don't know enough to teach someone else, right? So when you start building a community, you have to think about, so what do I already know that can help someone, right? It doesn't need to be, because we tend to think that the only way for me to speak about something is if I speak to the top guy in the industry, right? And it's very normal. Like, look, I don't know enough to talk to the top guys in the industry, right? So we are, you know, so that's true. So, but we look for people that need us, right? You know, for example, Brian, for me, Brian and Kirk, right? They're already Staff Plus developers, right? So they are here much more because they want to participate in the discussion than to listen to me, right? You know, Kirk is a friend, right? So, you know, he said he likes to be here, so that's great, right? But, you know, there's very little I can do to help them, right? But I can help you, Daniel, because you're a senior developer, right? And because I'm here to help you, I'm not here to help Kirk, but because I'm here to help you, Kirk and Brian say, you know what? Bruno's going to be talking to senior developers. Maybe I have something to tell them too. So let me go there and participate. So now we have a better discussion because those people are here because you're here, Daniel, right? You know, and so that's what you have to think about. You have to think about, so what can I do to bring someone that needs me, right? And when that person comes, maybe that's going to be a catalyst to help me join other people that can help that guy. And by that, you know, that's how you start a community. That's how you start pushing things forward.
Bruno,
Yeah.
can I add something, right? I think,
Sure,
I mean, you were basically quizzing this person on his Java skills and stuff like that. Maybe he's not a Java developer, but I'm sure that he has other skills that are really valuable,
right.
and they're also needed. So, you know, there's all kinds of things that we do in our open source projects where, you know, we're tech people and we're going like, yeah. And there's other people who come in and look at it and say, yeah, I like doing this stuff and I think I can add value there. And I think, you know, just because you might not be a specialist or a, you know, big specialist in the language, there's so many other things that are happening around open source. Like if you look at the London Java community, there's so many things happening. They need such a wide variety of skills there. And even if we look at our unconferences that we've been helping run, there's so many things that are happening that don't necessarily require technical skills, that you can still make meaningful contributions and be involved in communities that you want to learn more about. And quite often it's just showing up and trying to do these little things, like even reading documentation and fixing documentation bugs, offering editorial skills, you know, all these other things that that you can do, that you can be involved with, that can really, in the end of the day, open up some really interesting doors for you. It's, yeah, I think one of the valuable things that you said, and you know, this is the thing I noticed, that once I started doing these types of things, I stopped working on my resume. And I actually haven't looked at my resume since about 2006 or something like that. And it was because, and I ran my own consultancy, so people were seeking me out for whatever. It was because there was a couple of things that I did. One, I think by putting my expertise or my knowledge out there, or what I can do out there in writing, in blogs and stuff like that, people were looking at it going like, yeah, we have a temporary need for that type of skill. This guy obviously has the chops to do it, so let's bring him in and get him in here. So all of a sudden, it just changes the type of conversation that you're having, right? And it changes the whole picture, the chase. It's not like you're chasing anymore. It's more, you're having more peer-to-peer conversations instead of, please hire me, Mr. Employee or whatever like that. And I think that just generally leaves you in a much better position to have a better lifestyle and control your life. And I look at Bruno, what you've done, and your lifestyle, and it's very enviable. And you've built that by being out there and exposing what you can do in a very open way.
Yeah. And so one thing that Kurt said that I think is very important. Yeah. One thing that Kurt said that I think is very important is about being called to be part of the conversation, right? And that's true not only on the open space, right, in the workspace, but inside your company, right? People in your company knowing who you are and knowing what you do, they will invite you to be part of the conversation. And once you're part of the conversation, everything changes, right? Because now you're there involved before the problems show up, right? When there's more chance that what you say is going to be listened to, right? Lots of people complain to me, oh, but no one listened to me, right? But if what you're saying is past a certain decision point, even though it makes sense what you're saying, we can't listen to you anymore, right? But if you're called in to be part of the conversation beforehand, that's a great thing, all right? So there's a question here, right? But before I go to your question, because Kirk mentioned blogging, right? I do have a guy here that's, right? Do I have that guy? Yeah, okay, good. All right. I'm just making sure that he's comfortable. So I do have a guy here so Mark, I think from all the people that joined me in my mentorship, I think Mark is the one that did better, amazingly, result on blogging, right? And so he's very consistent. He does a lot of cool things. So do you want to tell us a few words here on how that helped you or what people need to do?
Sure.
Gonna come here in front, or
The camera can
take it. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, good.
Sure. Well, I started working with Bruno. I guess it was around the end of 2020 or so, beginning of 2021, and I decided that I wanted to raise my profile as an individual developer, and get involved with interesting projects and all. I'm in a bit of a unique situation because for the last for the last decade, 15 years or so, I've applied my trade, usually developing the programming language Perl, which isn't terribly fashionable. So part of the reason that I wanted to do this was not just for personal advancement, but also to make sure I could continue to do work in my weapon of choice. So I committed myself to writing a new Perl blog once every week on a schedule, and it there wasn't anybody overseeing me. It wasn't like I was meeting any deadline other than what I imposed on myself. But I just kept at it, and in addition to just sort of throwing these things up on my on a WordPress site, I also made a point of promoting the hell out of it on social media. I would post things on Reddit, on various social media things, the aggregators, Hacker News, etc. Wouldn't always get traffic from them, but gradually things built. Every so often, something would start to get a lot of traction at places like Hacker News, and then it would just blow the hell up. But it's been a great learning experience for me, and I wanted to touch back on something that Bruno had mentioned earlier. He was talking about how you may not feel that you have you feel like you can't really talk about something because you can't teach it to whoever is the supreme expert in the field or in language, like James Gosling or something like that. But you might have something to say that's useful to a beginner or somebody else who's also on a similar path that you're on. And that's been my position with blogging as well. Bruno's even invited me to give an occasional talk about how to get started in blogging. And one of the things that I keep trying to drive home is you have a unique perspective, and as long as you can make it relatable, and as long as you can describe what you're doing, you will find somebody who's interested, and you can help them. And that's really the trick to it. Thanks to my efforts, I was able to parlay into a new position that I started a couple months ago with Alert Logic here in Houston. I'm repping the swag here. And yeah, it worked. That's thing. Of course, now that I'm starting at a new company, I'm kind of in heads down mode, and I've got I'm kind of recapitulating the whole mid-level to senior developer journey as I'm coming up to speed with all their platforms and their technology, and I become a bit more of a polyglot hacker, working in Go and Python and stuff. But yeah, blogging it will help advance your career, and as long as you as long as you keep at it and keep pushing yourself to post things.
Yeah. Cool, man. Awesome. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, awesome. That's great, Mark. Thanks a lot. And so a few things that Mark did that I think are awesome is that first of all, he was very consistent, right? Publishing. Lots of people think that publishing once a month, it's enough. People, if you want people to read, right, you don't have to pay attention to what you're saying. You need to. So Mark does once a week, right? It's awesome, right? The people that post once a day. So I think we have to get a little bit of the market. One of those things that we have to have a little bit of marketing, right? And understanding. So for the top marketing people, the top social media guys, those guys publish 100. I'm gonna say very slow. They publish 100 pieces of content a day. 100, right? You think that but if I post once a day, people are gonna get mad at me. No, the top guys they post 100 pieces of content a day, right? So, or more, right? And so being very consistent, talking to people and being on the people that's something that Mark did very well. Second thing that he did very well is the thing that he mentioned here, that that he promoted it, right? people think that, oh, because if I write something cool, you know, that the dream, Field of Dreams, remember that movie? Field of Dreams, the building they will come. That's not true, right? It's not true. Guys, seriously, you get projects, that for GitHub projects that have thousands of stars. Go talk with there's some of those people, they actually publish how they did it, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I
but,
followed the playbook.
right, exactly.
Got 200 stars on Refactor first now.
Right. No, so everyone that have that, they did what Mark did. They did what Jim did. You know, they talk about it, right? So when Jim published a new post, a new version of his blog, he messaged me, hey, Bruno, I just posted a new version. Can you retweet, right? You know, you have to do that. You have to promote yourself. Does not a lot of promotion. Think about it. You wrote some good content that people that you know will love to hear it. Why am I going to tell them? You know, I'm not saying that you need to go and pay advertisements so people can know. It's just tell your friends, people that want to read that stuff. Hey, you want to read it? I just posted it. That's it.
And helps to promote in places and get to places where your message can be amplified, and then they can distribute your message out to their audience, and it just goes crazy after that. That's what would happen anytime I would get a decent number of upvotes on Reddit or in Hacker News. You know, there are so many downstream aggregators that just hoover up stories from there, that it's just it's a snowball effect. And this is also something I learned. I started my career working in the pharmaceutical industry, and I was part of a bunch of mass layoffs after almost 10 years at this one company, and they sent me on they were very gracious, and they sent me on an outplacement program, and they kind of trained me how to do job searching and all that. And one of the things they trained me was always be talking about your job search. Whoever you're talking to, always be putting yourself out there that yes, you're looking. And the same thing applies with like what you were saying with blogging or anything else. It's just you're always pushing that out there. You're always talking about it. Now, you don't have to be a jerk about it.
Right.
You know, if people can tell when you're just, you know, being a self-aggrandizing asshole.
Mhm.
But you know, keep it relevant, keep it friendly.
Right.
But yeah, don't assume that, you know, just because you throw it up on some random WordPress site that it's going to make any difference. You have to put it where the readers already are. Perfect.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, I'm holding his question there. But you know, since you talk about, there's one last thing I want to say about blogging is that you know, a lot of times we think that, oh, we don't have enough content. We don't have and actually I can show you know, I can the whole trick about content. I can talk about the trick about content in a minute. But one thing you have to understand, Uncle Bob likes to say that every 18 months or something, like 15 months or something like this.
I think 18.
18, I think, right? So, well, I think 18 is for the ship, right?
Oh, okay, I was thinking
Yeah.
5 years, every 5
At
years.
5 years, you're right. Every 5 years, we double the number of developers, right? That means every 5 years, half of the developers never heard any of those things. Think about that, right?
You're always talking to newbies.
You're always talking to new
And
people,
that's-
right?
And if you start, you know, watching all of the developer content that's out there, all the blogs and stuff, the places that are aggregated like Dev2 or DZone or whatever, there's so much stuff there that's oriented towards newbies, and you know, it's a little tiresome.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree.
So,
But somebody's gonna find value. in
somebody,
that.
somebody's gonna find value out of it, and if that's what, if that's, if that's your road to hoe, go for it. You know, but, the point is, the vast majority will, it's always going to be this churn of new folks.
Right, yes. So of course you have to share something that's valuable for you too, right? You know, lots of people tell me, oh yeah, I want to help beginners. I think, okay, that's good, that's fair, right? But how is that gonna help you in your job? Right? You know, you can't just, you know, you have to make that connection, right? So, oh, well, if I help beginners, then I'm gonna be better at mentor junior developers in my company. Awesome. You know, make that connection, right? Be clear to you, where does that connection make, right? Because mentoring is a great leadership skill. It's a great thing for you to be one of the staff plus.
It helps amplify you
Yes, that's true too.
in your skill set, because when knowledge is not it's not a fixed commodity. It's not it's something that can be shared without incurring any detriment. I mean, if I know something and then you know it, we can be twice as productive, you know, instead of you took my knowledge, I can't get it back now.
Right, right, yes. But there's a reality that you spend time doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
So maybe there's other things that's why I want you to think about how this connects to your job, because you spend time doing it. And so if you spend time sharing knowledge, and that doesn't connect with your results, then at some point you're gonna say, well, why am I doing all this? Right? Because I'm taking from other things, right? All of us have done that. You know, we take from our families, we take from our companies, we take from our, you know, from our careers to help others. So, and I think that's okay. But if you don't see the connection, if you don't see the value, you know, I see a lot of speakers, for example, they say, oh, you know, I don't see value in speaking at events because too much time, too much effort to do that. Well, it's true, right? But if you see that's important, right? Like Mark, like everyone said, oh, it's an important thing. But you're not able to connect that to something valuable for you, then what's going to happen? You're going to stop doing it. And if you stop doing it, you don't have any results, right? So you have to connect to something that's important for you.
Yeah, and I share stuff. One of the reasons I share stuff is to get feedback, and not just, you know, I don't want pats on the back saying, yes, you're right, you're wonderful and everything. I get told that I'm wrong quite frequently, and I even did it. One of the talks I gave at a conference was called "A Year of Being Wrong on the Internet," and it was just a summary of all the corrections that I've had, and I would post corrections and things like that, and revise things, and that's fine. It's a learning process.
And after a year being corrected, are you a better developer?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right.
It's the Wikipedia effect. The easiest way to get the right information is to post the wrong information publicly.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool, very cool. So our friend there in the back.
Or Bruno. Thank you.
Opa, he speaks Portuguese. That's even better.
I wouldn't say I speak it. My wife is a Brazilian.
Oh, cool, nice.
She took me to, before I asked my question, I wanted to say, I think it's amazing that you're able to come up here and speak so well in English, because I went to Brazil, my wife, and I couldn't communicate with anybody. And I was after going to classes for like 2 or 3 months. I could say hello, I need to go to the bathroom and stuff like that. So I think
That's good, man. That's good. That's how we start. Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot. So what's your name?
My name is Anthony.
Anthony. Okay, cool. All right.
So my question was regarding the staff engineering position.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't worked at a lot of places that I've even seen that as one of the positions.
Right.
Right. So I was wondering if you could shed some light, because it seems like there's some blended lines
between a staff engineering position and like a software development manager minus the direct report. So if you were gonna pitch that to your company, what are some of like the distinguishing qualities about that job rec if they were gonna open it that you could say, hey, this might be a position, you know, that you guys might be interested in opening, you know, but to separate it from what a software development supervisor.
Okay, cool. That's a very good question. So Anthony, you're totally right that lots of companies don't have that position, right? So if your company doesn't have, or if you haven't seen it in many companies, that's a reality. That's in fact, a lot of companies don't have that, right? And so the companies that don't have that, so a lot of times I talk with developers that come to me and say, oh, you know, I want to be a manager, but I want to still code. And then you ask them, so why? Why, if you want to, if your focus is technical, why do you want to be a manager? And usually the answer is, oh, because that's how I grow, right? So a lot of developers, and I think that's a sad situation, right? That we have developers that they think that they cannot advance, right? And so think about it when you talk to your company. Think about it. Look, if we don't have a way for developers to advance, right, they're gonna leave. You know, so what can be worse than that? You know, you have someone that's been working with us for a long time, and it's awesome. He's solving our problems, and they're gonna leave to another company because we don't have a way for them to grow. So that's a good thing to start, right? You know, we should have a way for us to. And the other thing, when I was a kid, actually, no, I was a teenager, like and I got a book from my father's bookshelf, and it was a book that said everyone is incompetent, including you, right? It's a very famous book in the management area. So it was for me, I was reading as a funny book, right? Because there was lots of crazy stories of people. You know, the whole theory behind the book was that you grow until you reach your level of incompetence, and then you stop growing, right? But in a way, that really got me, because I always think about my level of competence, right? You know, for me, I want to grow, but I don't want to reach my level of competence, right? I want to find ways to either keep growing, right, or to not go in the direction that I know I'm going to suck and I'm not going to want to do it, right? So the whole idea of the book was that, you know, you grow, and then eventually the company puts you to a better position, right? There is a promotion, and then you suck at that, and you hate it, because no, you suck at it, but you love it, then you're going to get better, and you eventually, you know, that's not your level of incompetence, but you suck at it, you hate it, right? And then you get stuck at that position forever, right? And so that is a situation that you have to, you know, think about it. You have a great developer, for example, right? It's, you know, he helps you solve technical problems. He's awesome at that. He's really useful for the company. And then, oh, let's move him to management. And then he's gonna hate it, right? Because now he has to deal with people that he does not want to. You know, if they want to, it's good. If the company can help them move in that direction, that's great. But if they don't want it, they're not gonna put him in a position that they hate it, and they're gonna be terrible at it. So what if you put them in that position they're terrible at it? Is we're gonna lose a good developer, right? And then he's gonna be a terrible manager, and everyone in the team is gonna hate that, and everyone's gonna leave. I mean, look at how terrible a situation we're creating for ourselves, right? You know, so I think this is the thing that you have to be talking about because look, your managers, your directors, your VPs and presidents and everything, they need to be spoken at language that they understand, right? And a lot of those guys are thinking, well, you know, that's what developers want, right? You know, they want to grow and they're going to be managers. Right? Then, of course, look, seriously, man, let me tell you a little story. I was working at Sun Microsystems, right? I can always talk about Sun. You see that a lot of times I don't mention companies, I don't mention names, because I just don't want to put people into bad situations, right? But those things that I tell you, I can guarantee that happens everywhere, right? But Sun doesn't exist anymore, right? So like we can just talk about it anyway, right? So we can just be very open, right? So I was working at Sun, And I love what I was doing, right? And I really wanted Sun to get Java into customers, right? And there's a lot of some customers that would ask, oh, can you come here, help us? We have this big project, I was personally kicked out from 3 big accounts from Sun, right? The last one was a big bank, one of the largest banks in Brazil, and they kicked me out. Why? Because what I was doing is bad? No, because what I was doing was good. So that big bank, one day the guy told me and said, hey, Bruno, okay, so it's great. You're helping us here. It's amazing. We're advancing so much. How do I hire you? I'm like, you can't. Well, you're here for Sun, but I need to pay you. I said, no, you can't pay me because Sun does not do developments, right? So you can't pay me. I'm here to help you for as long as you need. And he said, so I don't want you here anymore. You don't need to come tomorrow. And I said, so that's the 3rd time that happened. And I said, why not? And he said, because I cannot depend on someone that I don't know is going to be here tomorrow, right? Because if I'm not paying you, tomorrow you might have another customer. I'm saying you just leave, right? And I cannot call someone at Sun and say, hey man, that guy that was helping me out here, send him again, because they're going to say you're not paying anything, so why I'm going to send him there, right? And so anyway, that was just a side story here. And so basically, I was trying that time to get Sun to understand that they needed to have a professional service, and we could build that. We can actually sell that to a customer. So I spent several months building a whole program to do that. How are we going to do it? How much we're going to cost? Everything. And I did not know, but I learned later that Sun did not want to do that worldwide. So no, that's it. We're not going to do it, right? But I was trying. So one day, I got a call from the secretary of the president of Sun Brazil, right? And she said, he wants to talk to you. I said, man, that's it, right? Finally, right? Because I had gone to meetings and the directors, I had explained it and all that. Finally, they're gonna do it. Awesome. So I went all very happy, and I sat down and I talked to him and I said, oh, I want to see, what you're doing, what are the things you're doing. And I told him, so excited because I really want, I believe it's gonna be. So he listened to all that, and the end of it said, Bruno, all this is great. But I called you here because I wanted to know, when can we start to move you into sales? He said, you're a great sales guy, right? You're being an evangelist for Java. You'll be awesome sales, right? When can we start moving them? Can we start doing this? Right? So that is the day I left Sun. I checked out from Sun that day. It took me about 2 months to actually leave the company, right? But that day I said, okay, that's it. I'm leaving, right?
They jumped the shark.
Sorry?
They what's called jump the shark, or it's like they wanted. It's a phrase, at least in America, where
It's over.
it's over.
It's over, right?
Yeah.
It's over. Yeah, exactly. So basically, that's what happens, right? If all you have it's a company that for you to grow inside the company, you have to be a sales guy, right? That was the situation of Sun Brazil, right? Sun US completely different company, right? Because here is where things happen. There's development, there's innovation, there's all that here. But in Brazil, Sun was just an advanced sales post, right? That's all he was. So for you to grow inside Sun Brazil, there's just one path: is going to sales positions, right? If you don't go to sales position, you don't grow inside Sun. So everyone that was a technical person, they had a very obvious, very limiting ceiling. Either you move to sales or you're not going to grow inside Sun, right? And that's okay, but what happened? You lose people, right? You lose your best people because they leave, or you turn them into salespeople, and then you lose them again, right? I mean, you lose either way, right? So I think that explaining those things to your company, right, and showing them, look, I really want to do, and then not only that, but actually looking at the responsibility that those guys have, right? You know, it's not only one project, it's not only coding, it's more than that, right? So then you start thinking about ways that your company can benefit, right? So for example, look, we need more developers. Can I help you hire people, right? We're having new people coming in. Can I help you mentor them, right? That's what Scott's doing. Scott's loving this job, right? Actually, Scott could even come talk a little bit about that, about mentoring, because I think that's an important thing to do. And so, you know, you become mentors, right? And all of these that you're taking the steps to become a leader inside your company, right? And then you start showing them that because you got involved with mentoring people, for example, then now our projects are faster or we're having more results, right? So basically what you do is that you start showing what those people do as benefits from what you have. And then again, you start negotiating, you know, how, can I do this more, right? Can I be responsible for that, right? So I'm going to code less, but I'm going to do more mentoring, right? And so then you start taking those positions and you negotiate, you know, okay, so now can I call myself a staff engineer, right? You know, can we start creating this? You know, companies that don't have that, someone has to be the first to start showing this, right? And so I would, for example, go get people in your company that are more technical in their director positions, right? Where they really know because they've gone through this in the past, right? So you can get someone to sponsor that discussion internally, right? But it's hard. It's very hard. I just want you to understand that companies that don't have that, it's hard because you're actually creating a position that doesn't exist, right? So and sometimes, you know, you might, like Sandro, like the guy I was talking before, right? So Sandro, you know, he actually had an offer to go to another company, but he did not want to leave. So he sit down with his boss and say, hey boss, look, I have this offer here to go do innovative work in another company, but I love working here. Is there something we can do that I don't have to leave? And so his boss took that to the directors, right? And then the directors made the decision, yes, let's find a way to keep this guy because this guy is important for us, right? So if you like your company and your company doesn't have that, you have to go, you know, try to talk to people and see what can you do, right? So especially if you're already a senior developer for many years and you're already doing some of this work that those guys are doing, you know, show them that they can do even more. Make sense?
Yeah.
I know it's not easy, man. And sometimes it's not going to be possible. But sometimes you're gonna work and you're gonna do all those things, and then
You hit a wall.
you're gonna hit a wall, right? So like I did, you know, I tried that for a while, right? And then when the president told me, look, that's it, right? You know, I hit a wall. I said, okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore, right? And actually when I came back to Sun, several years later, so here's the funny part. So I left Sun to do what?
Sales.
No. But you know, in a way, a little bit. It might be a little bit, but you know, I left Sun to do my own company, right? You know, I got a guy here from the US that had a consulting company here, and he wanted to expand the consulting company to Brazil because he had lots of Brazilians in his company, right? And so, because it was a US company called Souza Technology in Pittsburgh, that's was built by three people, one Englishman, one American, and one Brazilian, right? So they built a company. So they hire lots of people from Brazil to come work here in the US, right? And so that guy said, you know, he wanted to hire me to come to the US. And I said, no, I don't want to go. I want to stay in Brazil. And then he said, great. So how about you stay in Brazil and you help me hire people to the US? I said, no. If I want to work for you, I want to build a company in Brazil with people here doing projects here. So I did everything I tried to do to get Sun to do. I did in a way my own company because I became part of that company, right? So I did that in my own company. So I didn't do sales because they had salespeople, right? But eventually I had to hire salespeople because I didn't want to do that, right? But that's an interesting story that we can talk about. But basically, so I did that. And who were my first customers? Sun, of course, right? So of course Sun was my first customer because they needed it. Their customers were knocking on the door and saying, we need this. Please sell it to us. And they're saying, no, we're not going to sell it to you, right? So Sun would be our sales guy, right? They would sell it and we would go to implement it. Right? I tried, I hit a wall and I went to do something else.
Hi, Bruno. This is Carlos
Yeah.
here from Mexico. How are you
Hey,
doing?
Carlos, how are you doing, man? Good to see you.
Improving